Chapter 1, The Rank That Could Not Command. The dog lay in the middle of the road beneath the pouring rain. Cars rushed past on both sides, sending dirty water across its trembling body. One of its hind legs rested at an unnatural angle, and every flash of lightning made the terrified animal struggle to rise. "Stay still," Arav Mehra whispered. His clothes were already soaked through. Rainwater ran into his eyes as he crouched several meters away, keeping his hands visible. The dog bared its teeth. Not because it wanted to attack. Because it was afraid. Arav had seen that expression many times while volunteering at the animal clinic. Pain could turn even the gentlest animal defensive. Approaching too quickly would only make it panic. "I'm not going to hurt you." He removed his jacket and slowly extended it toward the dog. Another horn screamed behind him. Arav glanced over his shoulder. Bright headlights appeared through the rain. Too fast. He moved before he had time to think. Arav threw himself forward, wrapping his arms around the injured dog and dragging it away from the center of the road. The animal cried out. Brakes shrieked. White light filled Arav's vision. Then everything became silent. The first thing he heard was applause. Arav opened his eyes. Hundreds of candles floated beneath a high stone ceiling. Sunlight poured through tall colored windows, illuminating banners marked with the image of a silver chain surrounding a beast's claw. Young men and women stood in orderly rows. Some wore expensive coats and polished boots. Others carried simple cloth bags and patched cloaks. Every one of them faced a raised platform where a crystal sphere rested upon a carved pedestal. A boy near the platform held his hand over the sphere. Golden light surrounded him. Words appeared above the crystal. Name: Lucen Harrow. Tamer rank: C. Class: Flame Beast Commander. The hall erupted in cheers. AC rank: House Harrow has produced another strong tamer. He'll receive offers from the military guild before sunset. Arav stared at the glowing words. His first thought was that he had somehow survived the accident. His second was that hospitals did not usually contain floating candles. Then the memories struck him. A small rented room. Cold winter mornings. Cleaning feeding pens at the Imperial Tamer Guild. Saving copper coins inside a cracked clay jar. A boy named Arin Vale, whose parents had died during a monster attack when he was 6. Years of watching proud tamers walk through the city with powerful beasts beside them. One final hope. Awakening Day. Arav gripped the wooden bench as two lives collided inside his mind. He remembered studying animal care on Earth. He also remembered carrying feed sacks through these guild stables. He remembered dying beneath the headlights. He remembered waking before dawn in a narrow room, hungry but excited because Arin Vale had finally reached 19, the legal age for an official tamer awakening. His breathing became unsteady. "I'm alive." The hands resting on his knees were younger than the ones he remembered. They were rough from work, with small scars along the fingers. His clothing consisted of a faded green tunic, brown trousers and worn leather boots. Arav, or Arin, looked toward one of the windows. A youthful face stared back from the glass. Light brown skin, short, slightly messy dark brown hair, golden brown eyes filled with confusion. This was not his body. Yet it did not feel entirely unfamiliar. The memories belonged to him now. So did the name. Arin Vale. Next. The sharp voice from the platform pulled him back to the hall. Another candidate approached the crystal. Arin forced himself to breathe slowly. Whatever had happened, panicking would not change it. He listened. The people around him spoke of mana, contract capacity and beast compatibility as casually as people on Earth discussed university entrance exams. This world was called Eldoria. The continent was Valoran. And this region belonged to the Avedon Empire, a nation where tamers protected settlements, transported cargo, hunted monsters and served noble families. A powerful tamer could become wealthy. A week one could spend life cleaning cages. Arin knew which future the original owner of this body had feared. Arin Vale. Every head in his row turned toward him. An impatient clerk stood beside the aisle. Are you sleeping? No. Then approach the crystal. Arin rose. His legs felt stable, although his thoughts did not. He walked between the rows while quiet voices followed him. That's the stable worker. He paid for an awakening. Maybe cleaning dung improves beast compatibility. A few candidates laughed. Arin continued walking. The original Arin had heard worse. At the platform, an elderly examiner stood beside the crystal. Silver spectacles rested low upon his nose, and a dark blue gilt robe covered his thin frame. Place your dominant hand on the awakening crystal, the examiner said. Do not pull away until the result stabilizes. Arin looked into the sphere. Threads of pale light moved inside it like smoke beneath glass. What exactly will it measure? A few people snickered at the question. The examiner appeared equally unimpressed. Mana capacity, spiritual resilience, contract authority and natural affinity. The crystal will determine your public class and starting rank. Contract authority. The strength of your ability to impose commands upon contracted beasts. The answer made Arin pause. Impose. The examiner tapped the pedestal. Hand on the crystal. Arin obeyed. Cold spread through his palm. The hall disappeared. For one strange moment, Arin sensed hundreds of distant heartbeats. Some were calm. Some angry. Many afraid. They came from beneath the guild hall, from the training pens, transport cages and underground beast chambers. His awareness moved through them like a warm current. A horse with an aching front hoof. A young windhawk exhausted from repeated flight drills. A scaled lizard burning with fever. And something smaller nearby, hiding beneath a wooden platform while iron pressed painfully against its neck. Arin's fingers tightened around the crystal. A faint pulse answered from deep within him. Not a command. An invitation. The light inside the crystal changed. White mist spread through the sphere. For an instant, Arin thought he saw the outline of an enormous tree, its branches stretching beyond the crystal's surface. One silver leaf drifted downward. Then a crack of light flashed across the room. The sensation vanished. Words formed above the pedestal. Name, Arin Vale. Tamer rank, F. The hall became quiet. A second line appeared. Class, Gentle Tamer. The silence broke into laughter. Arin studied the result. F rank, someone said. Even stable boys usually receive E rank. What does Gentle Tamer mean? It means he can ask a monster politely before it eats him. The examiner adjusted his spectacles, staring at the crystal as though it had personally disappointed him. Mana capacity, extremely low. Command authority, absent. Forced contract compatibility, none. None, Arin asked. You cannot overpower a beast's will through a contract seal. You cannot issue absolute commands, and you will not be able to borrow combat abilities through ordinary contracts. The examiner removed a thin bronze identification plate from beneath the pedestal. He pressed it against the crystal, recording the result. F-Rank Gentle Tamer, the lowest recognized classification. Arin looked at the glowing words again. He should have felt crushed. The original Arin had spent almost 7 years saving for this awakening. Every coin, every freezing morning and every insult had been endured for the hope of becoming a real tamer. That hope had just been reduced to 2 lines above a crystal. But something bothered Arin more than the rank. What happens when a beast refuses a contract? The examiner frowned. A qualified tamer strengthens the seal until resistance stops. And if the creature is frightened? Fear is irrelevant once obedience is established. Arin withdrew his hand from the crystal. The laughter around him no longer mattered. He remembered the dog beneath the rain. Its exposed teeth. Its shaking body. Fear had never been irrelevant. The examiner handed him the bronze plate. You may apply for stable work, transport assistance or low-level creature maintenance. Do not attempt to contract wild beasts without supervision. Arin accepted the plate. It contained his name, rank and class. It also held a small stamped warning. Combat license unavailable. Years of effort for permission to continue doing the same work. Arin stepped away from the platform. Wait, called another official. A broad-shouldered instructor entered the testing area, dragging a reinforced wooden cage. Something inside struck the bars. Several candidates leaned forward eagerly. The instructor placed the cage beside the crystal and pulled away the heavy cloth covering it. A young beast crouched inside. It resembled a dark greyhound, but stiff red thorns grew along its back. A metal control collar surrounded its neck. One of its front legs was swollen, and dried blood marked the fur beneath the collar. The creature snapped at the bars. An F-Rank hound, the instructor announced. Recently captured. Young, aggressive and suitable for basic domination testing. The beast struck the cage again. Arin felt its panic before he consciously recognized it. A raw pressure formed behind his ribs. Pain. Fear. Confusion. The emotions did not arrive as words. They entered his awareness as clearly as the sensation of touching a hot surface. The instructor pointed toward the candidates who had received higher ranks. Those with D rank or above may attempt a preliminary command. Successful candidates will receive additional guild consideration. Lucen Harrow, the C-rank Flame Beast commander, stepped forward first. He smiled confidently and raised one hand. A red contract circle appeared before his palm. Kneel. The circle struck the cage. The F-Rank hound screamed. Its front legs bent, but it fought the pressure, claws scraping across the wooden floor. Lucen's smile faded. I said kneel. The red circle brightened. The beast collapsed. Several nobles applauded. Arin's stomach tightened. The hound was not being trained. It was being broken. The instructor nodded approvingly. Strong authority. Good resistance management. The hound trembled on the floor. Blood gathered beneath the edge of its collar. Arin stepped toward the cage. Stop. Lucen turned. What? The collar is cutting into its neck. The instructor blocked Arin with one arm. The beast injured two handlers this morning. Its front leg is swollen, the collar is too tight, and it has nowhere to retreat. Of course it's attacking. A murmur passed through the hall. Lucen laughed once. The F-Rank stable boy thinks he knows more than a certified instructor. I know what fear looks like. The F-Rank hound raised its head. Its yellow eyes fixed upon Arin. For another brief moment, the strange connection returned. Pain traveled up Arin's left arm, mirroring the beast's injured leg. Pressure burned around his throat where the collar had torn its skin. Arin understood something without knowing how. The hound expected every approaching hand to hurt it. The instructor's expression hardened. Return to your place. Let me examine it. You possess no command authority. I'm not trying to command it. That answer brought another round of laughter. The instructor looked toward the examiner, perhaps expecting him to remove Arin. Instead, the elderly man studied the awakening crystal. A trace of white mist still moved inside it. Give him 1 minute, the examiner said. The instructor frowned. He is F-Rank. Then his failure will cost us only 1 minute. The cage door was unlocked. Arin crouched several steps away. The F-Rank hound forced itself upright and snarled. Red thorns rose along its spine. Arin did not stare directly into its eyes. He turned his body slightly to appear smaller and placed both empty hands on the floor. You don't have to come closer, he said quietly. The hall fell silent. The hound growled. Arin waited. He did not use mana. He did not create a contract circle. He simply observed. The creature placed little weight on its injured front leg. Its ears pressed flat whenever the instructor moved. Its breathing was fast and shallow. Arin slowly removed the cloth belt from his waist. The hound snapped at the movement. He stopped immediately. It's all right. After several seconds, Arin folded the cloth into a loose strip and placed it on the ground between them. Then he moved his hands away. The hound sniffed. One cautious step. Then another. The red thorns remained raised, but the creature did not attack. Arin felt the fear within it shift. Not vanish. Only loosen. The hound reached the cloth and smelled the faint scent of grain and stable hay clinging to it. Arin spoke softly. The metal hurts, doesn't it? The beast's growl weakened. Arin extended one hand, palm upward, stopping well beyond biting distance. The hound stared at him. A pale warmth gathered beneath Arin's skin. It moved toward his fingertips in a gentle pulse. The hound's ears lifted. For the briefest instant, a translucent symbol appeared above Arin's hand, the shape of an open doorway beneath spreading branches. No one seemed to notice except the examiner. The elderly man leaned forward. The F-Rank hound crossed the remaining distance. Its nose touched Arin's fingers. A wave of emotion entered him. Hunger. Exhaustion. Pain. And beneath all of it, a desperate question. Will this hand hurt too? Arin did not know whether the thought belonged to the beast or his own imagination. He slowly touched the side of its face. The pale warmth spread into the hound. Its raised thorns lowered. A soft golden white glow passed over the swollen leg, reducing the trembling but not removing the injury. Arin could feel the limit immediately. Whatever this ability was, it could soothe pain and reveal damage, but it could not repair everything. The hound lowered its head onto his knee. No contract mark appeared. No command was spoken. Yet the creature had chosen to approach him. The hall remained completely silent. Arin examined the collar. This needs to be removed. The instructor recovered first. The collar is necessary. It is 2 sizes too small. It prevents escape. It is also infected. Arin pointed toward the darkened wound beneath the metal. If you leave it until tomorrow, the fever will worsen. After that, you might lose the beast. The instructor stared at the wound. His expression changed slightly. The examiner descended from the platform and crouched nearby. After inspecting the collar, he looked toward the instructor. Remove it. But. Now. The control collar opened with a metal click. The F-Rank hound flinched, then pressed closer to Arin. The examiner watched carefully. You did not establish a contract. No. You used no dominance seal. I don't think it would have accepted one. Acceptance is not required under Imperial contract law. Arin met the old man's eyes. It should be. Several officials shifted uncomfortably. The examiner's expression gave away nothing. Your minute is over. 2 handlers approached with a larger transport pen and a padded restraint. Arin helped guide the hound inside without force. Before the door closed, the beast pushed its nose against his fingers once more. Then it lay down upon the folded cloth belt. Arin stood. Loosen Harrow folded his arms. You made a wounded animal stop biting. That doesn't make you a tamer. Arin looked at the red marks left around the hound's neck. Maybe not. He picked up his bronze identification plate. But hurting it didn't make you one either. A few candidates gasped. Loosen's face reddened. Before he could respond, the examiner struck his staff against the floor. Testing will continue. The crowd reluctantly returned its attention to the platform. Arin walked away. His official result had not changed. F-Rank Gentle Tamer. But now the words felt less like a verdict. They felt like a question. Outside the guild hall, afternoon sunlight covered the wide stone courtyard. Tamers gathered beneath colorful banners while recruiters moved between them. Military officers approached candidates with combat classes. Merchant representatives sought transport specialists. Noble servants carried sealed invitations to anyone ranked C or higher. No one approached Arin. He sat beside a fountain and examined his identification plate. He owned 3 copper coins, a nearly empty rented room and clothing that had seen better years. The original Arin's stable position would end tonight. Guild rules reserved permanent work for awakened tamers with approved beast contracts or licensed caretakers. Arin had neither. He turned the plate over. F-Rank. The words were spoken by a man standing behind him. Arin looked up. The stranger was in his early 30s, broad-shouldered and dressed in dark traveling armor. A bronze badge shaped like a claw marked him as F-Rank Tamer. 3 other adventurers waited nearby, a spearwoman, a robed mage and a thin scout carrying twin knives. The man's face was stern rather than openly unfriendly. Arin Vale, he asked. Yes. I'm Derek Walt, leader of the Ironcrest Tamer party. Arin recognized the name from the body's memories. Ironcrest completed dangerous guild expeditions along the Empire's frontier. Derek was known for returning with valuable monster materials and fewer injuries than most teams. What does a B-rank party want with an F-rank tamer? Not a tamer, Derek answered. A beast handler. Direct, but honest. Derek handed him a parchment. We are entering Whisperwood Forest to survey a newly corrupted zone. Our supply mule, tracking hounds and captured specimens will require care. Arin read the offered payment. It was more money than he had earned during 2 months in the stables. Why not hire a licensed caretaker? They cost more. Why me? I watched what happened inside. Derek glanced toward the guild hall. You noticed an infection before the instructor did. My party values useful skills, regardless of rank. It was not praise. Derek spoke as though evaluating a tool. Arin looked beyond the city walls. In the distance, an immense forest stretched beneath the afternoon sky. Whisperwood. The name awakened uneasy memories. Ancient trees. Lost ruins. Magical beasts. And, recently, spreading corruption. Dangerous territory for experienced adventurers. Possibly suicidal for someone with no combat license. When do you leave? Arin asked. At dawn. How long is the expedition? 5 days if nothing goes wrong. And if something does? Derek's expression remained calm. Then we adapt, or we die. One of the party members laughed as though it were a familiar answer. Arin studied the forest again. He needed money. He needed somewhere to go. More importantly, he needed to understand what had happened when the hound touched his hand. That strange warmth had not felt like control. It had felt like a door opening. Arin signed the parchment. Derek collected it and turned away. Eastern Gate before sunrise. Bring your own food. The Ironcrest party crossed the courtyard without another word. Arin remained beside the fountain, watching them leave. A cool breeze passed through the city. For a moment, the sounds of merchants, carriages and distant bells faded. Something whispered at the edge of his hearing. Not a human voice. Not quite an animal cry. It came from beyond the walls. From somewhere deep inside Whisperwood Forest. A frightened heartbeat. A flash of white fur beneath blackened roots. 2 turquoise eyes opening in the darkness. Then the sensation disappeared. Arin rose slowly. Far beyond the city, clouds gathered over the ancient forest. Although the sky above him remained clear, a single drop of rain landed upon the back of his hand. It shimmered with pale blue light. And deep inside Whisperwood, something wounded had begun waiting for him. Chapter 2, The One They Left Behind. The tracking hounds refused to enter Whisperwood Forest. Both animals stopped at the exact point where the eastern road passed beneath the first ancient trees. Their bodies lowered. Their ears flattened. A warning growl vibrated inside their chests. The Ironcrest party's scout pulled their leads. Move. The hounds dug their claws into the earth. Behind them, morning sunlight covered the open hills in gold. Ahead, the forest appeared almost welcoming. Blue flowers grew beside the path. Bright insects drifted between enormous roots. Silver-green leaves reflected the light, and a clear stream curved beneath a moss-covered stone bridge. It was beautiful. Yet Arin felt something beneath that beauty. A pressure moving through the soil. Slow. Cold. Hungry. Stop pulling them, Arin said. The scout glanced back. You were hired to handle them. I am. Then make them move. Arin placed the supply pack he carried beside the road and approached carefully. The two tracking hounds were lean brown creatures with long ears and white markings around their noses. Thin contract seals glowed beneath the leather collars around their necks. Arin crouched. What do you sense? One hound looked at him. A sharp emotion touched his awareness. Not fear of the trees. Fear of something inside them. Images came in broken impressions. Rotten water. Roots moving where roots should remain still. The scent of dead leaves during the middle of summer. Arin examined the ground. The forest path seemed dry, but a thin black stain ran beneath the moss. It disappeared between the stones like a vein. Something is wrong with this entrance. Derek Walt walked forward. The leader of the Ironcrest party wore dark traveling armor beneath a grey cloak. A heavy sword rested across his back, and an armored dusk wolf stood at his side. The wolf was nearly as large as a horse's foal. Dark metal plates protected its shoulders and chest. A red command seal burned beneath its fur. Derek studied the hounds. They were trained for corrupted zones. Training doesn't make them unable to feel danger. It makes them obey despite it. Derek raised one hand. The contract marks around the hounds' necks brightened. Advance. Both animals whimpered. Their legs moved against their will. Arin's jaw tightened. The hounds crossed beneath the trees. The scout followed them. Derek looked at Arin. We are already behind schedule. Arin lifted the supply pack. Then we should be more careful, not less. Derek's expression remained calm. Carefulness is useful. Hesitation is expensive. He turned and entered the forest. The spearwoman and robed mage followed him. Arin remained at the boundary for one moment. A breeze passed through the colorful leaves. Deep inside Whisperwood, something faint touched his awareness. A frightened pulse. Then it vanished. Arin stepped beneath the trees. Whisperwood changed with every mile. Near the entrance, the forest floor was covered in yellow grass and small wildflowers. Farther inside, trees rose so high that their crowns disappeared into pale mist. Their trunks were wider than houses, and their exposed roots formed natural walls along the path. Floating seeds of green light drifted through the air. Tiny blue birds watched the party from silver branches. A family of round, orange-furred creatures hid beneath a flowering bush as the adventurers passed. Arin had never seen anything like it on Earth. Part of him wanted to stop and study every plant and animal. Ironcrest allowed no such delay. Derek maintained a hard pace. The scout walked in front with the tracking hounds. The spearwoman guarded the supplies. The mage occasionally raised a crystal instrument to measure the surrounding mana. Arin remained near the pack mule. The mule was a sturdy grey animal named Pebble, although no one except Arin used the name. Most of the equipment had been secured too tightly across its back. Arin adjusted the straps while walking. The spearwoman noticed. Derek ordered the packs tied firmly. They were rubbing against its shoulder. It has carried more weight than this. That doesn't stop the strap from hurting. She watched Arin place a folded cloth beneath the leather. You really did work in the guild stables. For 7 years. And after awakening as a tamer, you chose another job carrying feed. I didn't have many offers. For the first time, the spearwoman's expression softened. Most F ranks don't receive any. Derek offered because I was inexpensive. He offered because you were useful. Arin looked toward the party leader. Those can mean the same thing to him. The spearwoman did not disagree. Ahead, one of the tracking hounds suddenly stopped. The scout raised his hand. Everyone became still. A broken stone marker stood beside the path. Vines covered most of its surface, but part of an old symbol remained visible. A tree beneath a crescent moon. The mage brushed away the leaves. I don't recognize the shrine. It isn't on the imperial maps, the scout said. Derek examined the symbol briefly. Our objective lies northeast. Arin moved closer to the marker. The stone felt strangely warm. The moment his fingers touched it, the forest disappeared from his senses. For a heartbeat, he stood before an enormous silver tree. Its branches carried stars instead of leaves. Gentle rain fell through a clear sky. Countless creatures rested among its roots without cages, chains or command seals. Then black cracks spread across the vision. The silver tree withered. The stars went dark. A voice whispered from somewhere beyond the rain. Keeper. Arin pulled his hand away. The vision vanished. Did you hear that? He asked. The others looked at him. Hear what? The mage said. Arin stared at the ancient symbol. Nothing. Derek had already begun walking again. Leave the ruins. We are not treasure hunters. The party moved on. Arin followed, but the word remained inside his mind. Keeper. By midday, the forest became quieter. The blue birds disappeared. The floating light seeds thinned. Even the insects stopped humming. The mage checked his instrument. The mana level is rising. Corruption? Derek asked. Possibly. The reading is unstable. Arin smelled water nearby. The party found a shallow stream flowing between pale stones. The scout knelt and filled his hand. Clear. Don't drink it, Arin said. The scout gave him an impatient look. You have a better water source. Arin pointed toward the far bank. Several tiny frogs lay motionless among the reeds. Their normally green skin had faded to gray. A black film clung to the stones beneath the water. The scout let the water fall from his hand. The mage held his crystal above the stream. Dark mist immediately gathered inside it. Mana contamination. Derek looked upstream. The corrupted zone is closer than the guild estimated. Arin approached one of the frogs. It was still breathing. Barely. He touched its back with one finger. Cold pain entered his hand. Something thin and invasive twisted through the creature's body, draining its natural mana. A faint warmth gathered in Arin's fingertip. The black stain beneath the frog's skin retreated slightly. The creature's leg moved. Arin felt his own strength drain at the same time. He pulled his hand away before he became dizzy. The frog crawled beneath a leaf. The mage stared at him. What did you do? I don't know. You used mana. I hardly have any. That wasn't ordinary healing magic. Derek stepped between them. We are not here to examine his class. He looked toward the darkened stream. Our mission is to locate the center of the disturbance, collect a root sample and mark the boundary. Arin stood. You said this was a survey expedition. It is. You didn't mention taking anything from the corrupted zone. The guild pays more for a physical sample. The answer explained the expensive equipment. It also explained why Derek had hired an inexpensive handler rather than a licensed beast healer. The expedition was more dangerous than he had admitted. You knew the corruption was spreading, Arin said. I knew it might be. And you brought 2 tracking hounds through it. They are guild property. Arin looked at the animals. That doesn't make their pain less real. Derek's eyes hardened. Your responsibility is to keep the animals moving. Mine is to bring this party home. For a moment, neither spoke. Then Derek turned northeast. We continue. They found the first corrupted tree less than an hour later. It stood in the middle of a bright clearing. Half its branches carried green leaves. The other half had turned black. Thick veins moved beneath the bark like worms. Grass around the roots had withered into a perfect circle. The tracking hounds whined. Derek's dusk wolf bared its teeth. The mage held up the measuring crystal. This is the strongest reading yet. The scout moved around the clearing. There's an old stone road on the northern side. Derek removed a small silver container from his pack. Collect a bark fragment. The mage hesitated. Direct contact may trigger a reaction. That is why we brought enchanted tools. Arin stared at the black veins. They did not move randomly. They were responding to the party. Wait. Derek did not look at him. What now? The corruption knows we're here. The scout laughed quietly. It's a diseased tree. No, the roots are shifting beneath us. The spearwoman lowered her weapon. I don't feel anything. Arin did. The sensation traveled upward through his boots. Anger. Hunger. And something that felt almost like grief. Move away from the clearing, Arin said. The mage pressed the enchanted blade against the bark. The tree screamed. It was not a sound carried through the air. It struck directly inside Arin's mind. The ground exploded. Black roots tore through the soil. One wrapped around the mage's ankle and threw him into the grass. The tracking hounds panicked. Derek drew his sword. Defensive formation. His dusk wolf charged. Metal claws cut through the nearest root. Dark liquid sprayed across the ground, burning the flowers wherever it landed. More roots emerged from beneath the clearing. They twisted together, forming the shapes of four-legged beasts. Briar wolves. Their bodies were made of black wood and thorn-covered vines. Empty red light burned inside their faces. The spearwoman struck the first creature through its chest. The scout pulled the injured mage away. Derek's sword released a silver arc, cutting two briar wolves apart. Withdraw to the stone road. Everyone moved north. Arin grabbed Pebble's lead. The mule refused to move, eyes wide with terror. It's all right, Arin said. A root snapped around one of the supply packs. Arin cut the strap with the small stable knife at his belt. The pack disappeared into the corrupted ground. With the weight reduced, Pebble ran. Arin followed. One tracking hound stumbled behind him. Its lead had become trapped beneath a root. The scout shouted from the road. Leave it. Arin stopped. The briar wolves were rebuilding themselves behind him. The hound pulled desperately, choking against its collar. Arin ran back. He sliced through the leather lead. The hound leapt free. A black root struck the ground between them. The force threw Arin sideways. The edge of the old stone road cracked. For one suspended moment, Arin saw Derek reaching toward him. Then the earth collapsed. Arin fell. Branches tore at his clothes. His shoulder struck a root. The world turned green, black and silver. He landed on a narrow slope far below the road. Pain spread through his left side. Loose stones continued falling around him. Above, the Ironcrest party gathered at the broken ledge. Arin, the spearwoman shouted. I'm alive. He tried to stand. His right ankle immediately folded beneath him. The drop had not broken it, but the joint was badly twisted. Derek examined the distance. The slope between them was covered in unstable roots. A deep ravine separated Arin from the remaining path. The scout secured a rope around a tree. We can pull him up. The mage looked behind them. The damaged briar wolves were reforming. More red lights appeared between the trees. We don't have time. Lower the rope, the spearwoman said. The scout threw it. Arin caught the end. He wrapped it around his arm. The first pull lifted him several steps. Then the black roots beneath the ravine moved. One coiled around the rope. Dark corruption raced upward through the fibers. The Major's face changed. Cut it. The corruption will reach us. The spearwoman grabbed the rope. We can still pull him. The roots climbed faster. Derek looked at Arin. His calculation lasted only a second. 4 party members above. 1 F-rank handler below. A growing corrupted zone between them. Derek raised his sword. Derek, don't, the spearwoman said. The blade fell. The rope snapped. Arin slid back down the slope. The severed end landed beside him. For several seconds, no one spoke. The briar wolves moved closer to the ledge. Derek sheathed his sword. If we remain, the entire party will be trapped. The spearwoman stared at him. He saved one of the hounds. And now the hound is safe. Arin looked up. So that's it. Derek's expression remained controlled, but his voice lowered. Head west. The forest boundary is less than 12 miles away. With this ankle, I cannot risk 4 lives for one. You could have said that before I signed your contract. Derek did not answer. The mage shouted a warning. A briar wolf leapt onto the stone road. Derek's dusk wolf intercepted it. Move, Derek ordered. The scout hesitated, then followed. The mage went next. The spearwoman remained at the edge for one final moment. She removed a small pouch from her belt and threw it down. It landed several meters from Arin. Bandages and firestones, she called. Then Derek pulled her away. The Ironcrest party disappeared between the trees. Arin listened until the sound of battle faded into the distance. He was alone. Rain began falling through the canopy. At first, only a few drops reached the ravine. Then the sky opened. Water ran across Arin's face and soaked his torn tunic. For a moment, another road appeared inside his memory. Headlights. Cold ground. An injured dog trembling in his arms. Arin laughed once, though nothing was funny. Different world. Same rain. He crawled toward the pouch. Every movement sent pain through his ankle and shoulder. The supplies contained 2 clean bandages, 3 firestones, a small piece of dried meat and a half-empty bottle of water. Enough to survive one night. Perhaps 2. Arin wrapped his ankle tightly. He used the remaining rope to support the joint and forced himself upright with the help of a branch. West. Derek had said the forest boundary was west. Arin looked through the rain. He could no longer see the sun. The trees blocked every direction, and the corrupted stream had twisted the landscape around him. He chose the slope that seemed to descend toward cleaner water. One step. Then another. The rain strengthened. With every drop, the cold pressure beneath the forest became clearer. Black corruption spread through the roots like poison through veins. But somewhere beyond it, a softer presence remained. Weak. Terrified. Calling. Arin stopped. The faint heartbeat from the guild courtyard returned. It came from deeper inside Whisperwood. Not west. East. Of course. He leaned against the branch. The sensible choice was to find the road. He had almost no food, no weapon worth mentioning and no combat abilities. Whatever waited deeper in the forest might already be dying. That should have made the decision easier. Instead, Arin remembered the Ishfang hound placing its head upon his knee. He remembered the injured dog beneath the rain on earth. Maybe trying to save every creature was foolish. Maybe it was the reason he had died once already. The frightened pulse came again. Weaker this time. Arin turned east. I'm coming. The rain guided him. Drops gathered upon leaves and flowed in thin shining lines toward a hidden hollow. Soft mist covered the ground. Ancient stone lanterns stood beside an overgrown path, each carved with the same crescent tree symbol Arin had seen earlier. The black roots avoided the stones. Not completely, but enough to create a narrow passage. Arin followed it until the forest opened around a ruined shrine. Part of the roof had collapsed. Silver vines covered the walls. A dry fountain stood in the center, shaped like a cloud supporting a crescent moon. The frightened heartbeat came from behind it. Arin moved closer. A low hiss answered. Two turquoise eyes appeared beneath the broken stone. The creature hiding there was small. Fluffy white fur had become gray with mud. A large cloud-like tail curled protectively around its body. Two soft sky blue horns rose between its flattened ears. Black thorns wrapped around one of its hind legs. A dark stain had spread beneath its fur. Arin's breath caught. The creature tried to stand. The thorns tightened. Mist burst from its body, filling the shrine. Arin could barely see his own hands. He lowered the branch and slowly sat upon the wet ground. I won't come closer. A weak growl emerged from the mist. Arin placed the dried meat several steps in front of him. You don't have to trust me. The turquoise eyes remained fixed upon him. I don't trust humans very much today either. For the first time, the creature's growl paused. Then the black roots beneath the ruined fountain moved. They had followed him. A thorn-covered tendril rose behind the small white beast. Arin saw it. The creature did not. He forced himself to stand. The tendril struck. And something ancient opened its eyes inside Arin's soul. Chapter 3. The Beast That Chose Him. The black tendril struck from behind the ruined fountain. Arin moved before his injured body could protest. He threw himself across the wet stone and covered the small white creature with his arms. The thorn root struck his back. Pain exploded through his shoulder. His faded green tunic tore, and the impact sent him rolling across the shrine floor with the creature pressed against his chest. They stopped beside the cracked altar. For several seconds, Arin could not breathe. Rainwater ran through the broken roof and splashed against the stones around them. The small creature struggled weakly beneath his arms. Arin immediately loosened his hold. I'm sorry. The Misthorn cat twisted away from him, dragging its injured hind leg. Its turquoise eyes remained fixed upon his face. It was still afraid of him. But it was alive. The corrupted root rose again. More tendrils pushed through cracks in the shrine floor. Black thorns unfolded along their surfaces, each one glistening with dark liquid. Arin reached for the stable knife at his belt. The blade was short, worn and designed for cutting rope. It would not stop something that had torn through solid stone. The first tendril struck. Arin rolled aside. The root shattered the corner of the altar. Silver dust filled the air. A symbol hidden beneath centuries of dirt became visible upon the stone, a great tree sheltering an open doorway. The same symbol Arin had seen above his hand in the Imperial Tamer Guild. The same doorway that had appeared when the F-Rank Hound chose to approach him. The shrine trembled. Something ancient stirred beneath it. A voice entered Arin's mind. Not loud. Not human. Yet clear enough that he understood every word. A creature seeks shelter. The corrupted roots closed around him. Will the keeper open the door? Arin had no idea what the question meant. He looked at the wounded creature. Black thorns were wrapped around its hind leg. Corruption had spread beneath its white fur, and every breath caused its small body to shake. It had probably been hiding here for days. Perhaps longer. It had no reason to trust him. The forest had no reason to help him. And he had no power capable of defeating the thing attacking them. But the question had not asked whether he was strong enough. It had asked whether he would open the door. Yes, Arin said. The symbol beneath the altar ignited. Silver-white light spread through the cracks in the shrine floor. The black tendrils struck. A translucent barrier appeared around Arin and the creature. The roots slammed against it. The barrier bent inward. Arin felt the impact inside his bones. Words formed in the air before him. Hidden class awakened. Keeper of the first sanctuary. A keeper does not dominate. A keeper offers shelter. A keeper cannot force entry, loyalty or obedience. Only those who willingly accept protection may cross the sanctuary threshold. Another root struck the barrier. A fracture of white light appeared above Arin's head. The protection would not last. A second panel opened. Soul Sanctuary, Dormant. Territory, Unclaimed Safe Zone, None Sanctuary Bonds, 0 Land Purification, 0% Keeper Condition, Injured Available Functions. Beast Empathy Gentle Touch Corruption Sense. Locked Functions. Sanctuary Mark Growth Sharing. Awakening Requirement. Protect one creature that willingly places its trust in the Keeper. Arin stared at the words. So even the ancient power expects me to earn it. The Misthorn cat hissed. Arin looked down. That wasn't a complaint. The creature's ears flattened suspiciously. Despite the danger, Arin almost smiled. Another impact shook the barrier. The fracture widened. He could not wait for trust while sitting behind a failing wall of light. Trust could not be demanded. It could only be given a reason to exist. Arin placed the knife upon the ground where the creature could see it. Then he slowly pushed it away. I'm going to touch the thorns around your leg. The creature growled. I know. Arin held out his empty hand. If I leave them there, the corruption will keep spreading. If I pull them without understanding how they're attached, I might make the injury worse. The growl continued. Arin did not move closer. You can bite me if I hurt you. The creature blinked. A faint emotion touched Arin's mind. Confusion. You look surprised. Its cloud-like tail tightened around its body. The barrier shook again. A black thorn pierced halfway through the silver light before dissolving. Arin lowered his voice. I can't promise that this won't hurt. He remembered the handlers at the guild. The command seals. The Ishfang hound forced onto its knees. But I promise I'll stop if you tell me to stop. The Misthorn cat watched him. Rain fell between them through the broken ceiling. One drop landed on the creature's small blue horn. Its white fur shimmered faintly. Then, slowly, it extended its injured leg. Not far. Only enough to place the trapped limb beyond the protection of its tail. Arin released a breath. Thank you. He moved one hand toward the black thorns. The moment his fingers touched them, the shrine disappeared. Darkness entered him. He saw ancient roots beneath the forest. Once, they had carried silver light and clear water between every tree in Whisperwood. Now a black substance crawled through them. It did not merely poison flesh. It searched for pain, fear, anger, loneliness. It wrapped itself around those emotions and pushed deeper. The corruption inside the small creature had entered through its wounded leg, but it had spread faster because the creature was terrified. It had been hunted, trapped, driven away from somewhere it once considered safe. Arin felt flashes of memory. Iron jaws hidden beneath leaves. Men carrying hooked chains. A cage covered with red cloth. The creature escaping into the rain. Black roots following the scent of its wounded blood. Then isolation. Days spent hiding beneath the ruined fountain while the corruption tightened around its leg. Arin pulled his hand away. The vision ended. His breathing had become unsteady. The Misthorn cat stared at him. I saw it. Its pupils narrowed. The trap. The cage. The creature tried to withdraw its leg. Arin moved his hand back immediately. I won't ask where you came from. The fear inside it remained sharp. I only need to remove the thorns. The sanctuary interface changed. Creature condition detected. Name, unknown. Apparent species, Misthorn cat. Physical condition, severe exhaustion, dehydration, infected puncture wound. Emotional condition, frightened, distrustful, defensive. Corruption level, 31%. Known bloodline, unreadable. Immediate need, remove invasive black root thorns. Secondary need, clean water, warmth, rest. Warning, Directly tearing away the thorns may spread corruption into the bloodstream. Recommended method: separate the corruption from the creature's natural mana before removal. That would have been useful a moment earlier, Arin muttered. The creature made a faint sound that was almost a scoff. Arin looked at it. Are you making fun of me? Its face remained perfectly innocent. The barrier cracked again. There was no time to search the ruined shrine for medicine. Arin placed 2 fingers near the first thorn without touching it. He concentrated on the sensation he had felt while helping the poisoned frog. There had been 2 separate currents beneath its skin. One belonged to the creature. The other did not. Arin closed his eyes. At first, he felt only pain. His injured ankle. The cut across his back. The strain of maintaining the barrier. Then he sensed a cool current inside the mist-horn cat. It felt like the moment before rain. Soft clouds gathering above warm earth. The creature's natural mana. Around that current coiled something cold and rough. Black root corruption. Arin focused on the boundary between them. A pale warmth gathered in his fingertips. Gentle touch activated. Effect: reduces fear and pain through direct empathetic contact. Current effectiveness is limited by the keeper's condition and lack of sanctuary territory. Arin touched the fur above the wound. The creature flinched. Its claws struck the stone, but it did not pull away. Still with me. One turquoise eye opened. Good. The pale warmth traveled into its leg. Arin felt its pain enter him. Not as an injury, but as pressure, sharp enough to make his hands tremble. He followed the corruption beneath the fur. It had formed thin fibers around the creature's natural mana channels. Pulling the outer thorns would not be enough. He had to loosen those fibers first. Arin imagined opening his hand rather than closing it. Making space rather than applying force. The symbol of the open doorway appeared beneath his palm. Silver light surrounded the first black fiber. It resisted. Cold spread through Arin's arm. The corruption searched for something inside him to hold. It found Derek cutting the rope. The memory returned with painful clarity. Derek's calm face above the ravine. The blade falling. The rope snapping. The certainty that Arin's life had been assigned less value than everyone else's. Anger rose inside him. The black fiber tightened. The mist-horn cat cried out. Arin opened his eyes. No. He was not speaking to the creature. He was speaking to the corruption. You don't get to use that. Arin could be angry at Derek later. He could decide whether to forgive him or expose him later. Right now, that anger was hurting the life in front of him. He let the memory pass. The black fiber loosened. Silver light flowed around it. One by one, Arin separated the corruption from the creature's mana. Sweat mixed with rain upon his face. The barrier behind him collapsed another handspan. A tendril forced its way through. It crawled across the shrine floor. The mist-horn cat saw it first. Mist burst from its fur. The shrine vanished beneath a white cloud. The corrupted root struck at the place where Arin had been kneeling. It hit only empty stone. Arin found himself several steps away. The creature stood unsteadily beside him. A faint trail of cloud-shaped paw prints faded behind its feet. You moved us. The mist-horn cat swayed. Its turquoise eyes closed briefly. That took too much strength. The root turned toward them. Arin scooped the creature into his arms. This time, it did not struggle. He carried it behind the cracked altar as the mist concealed them. The creature's power had bought only a few seconds, but that was enough. The silver light around the invasive fibers had stabilized. Arin gripped the first external thorn. Ready. The creature pressed its face against his torn tunic. Arin pulled. The thorn slid free. Black liquid struck the floor and evaporated. The creature's body tensed, but no corruption spread beneath its skin. 1. He removed the second. Then the third. The final thorn was buried deepest. Arin's vision blurred. The barrier shattered. Black roots poured into the shrine. The creature trembled against his chest. Arin touched the final thorn. I need you to trust me one more time. A soft sound emerged from its throat. Not a hiss. Not a growl. Permission. Arin pulled. The last thorn came free. The corruption level fell. Corruption level, 31% right pointing arrow 14%. Invasive black root connection severed. Residual corruption remains. Immediate rest and purification are required. The roots surrounding the shrine froze. Every black thorn turned toward Arin. Without the connection to the creature, the corruption had lost its easiest path. Now it focused entirely upon him. The ancient voice returned. The creature has been freed. The keeper has no territory. The threshold cannot remain open. The light beneath the altar began to fade. Arin tightened his arms around the small creature. So this is where we run. His ankle could barely hold his weight. His back was bleeding. The creature was exhausted. Running was not a realistic plan. The nearest root rose above them. The Misthorn cat looked at Arin. A question touched his awareness. Not expressed in words. A simple feeling. Why? Why had he returned for an animal that was not his? Why had he placed his body between it and the corruption? Why had he thrown away the opportunity to escape west? Arin looked into its turquoise eyes. Because no one should be left behind just because saving them is difficult. The creature became very still. Something changed between them. The fear did not disappear. Trust did not replace every painful memory. But beneath that fear, a small decision formed. The Misthorn cat lifted one paw. A pale blue cloud shape glowed beneath it. It placed the paw against Arin's chest. Silver light spread between them. No chain appeared. No command circle closed around the creature's neck. Instead, the symbol of the open doorway formed beneath both of them. A creature has willingly accepted the keeper's protection. Sanctuary bond available. Conditions. Mutual trust, established voluntary acceptance, confirmed dominance seal, absent keeper's intent, protection creature's intent, shelter. Would both souls accept a sanctuary bond? Arin looked at the creature. This isn't a command. A warm pulse answered. You can leave whenever you choose. Another pulse. Stronger. Arin placed his hand over the small paw resting against his chest. I accept. The creature's eyes closed. Its answer entered him like the first drop of rain upon dry soil. Accept. The shrine filled with silver-white light. The black roots recoiled. A circle expanded across the floor, not made of chains or binding runes, but of leaves, flowing water and open branches. The light passed through Arin. His pain did not vanish, but strength returned to his shaking legs. It passed through the creature. The dark stain beneath its fur stopped spreading. The bond settled gently between them. Arin could sense its presence without entering its thoughts. A small, proud light. Bruised but unbroken. And within that light, a name. Mira. The creature opened its eyes. Arin was not sure whether he had heard the name or simply remembered it. Mira, he repeated. Her large tail moved once. Approval. The sanctuary record appeared. First sanctuary bond established. Companion, Mira apparent species, Misthorn cat true bloodline, dormant, information unavailable physical condition, injured, exhausted emotional condition, cautiously trusting corruption level, 14% trust level, 12%. Bond type, sanctuary bond authority, none commands available, none forced recall, unavailable. Shared growth, locked until both keeper and companion recover. New ability unlocked. Sanctuary mark. The keeper may claim a small abandoned territory only when 1. The land once offered shelter to creatures. 2. No living owner currently holds rightful claim. 3. At least one creature willingly accepts the place as home. 4. The keeper accepts responsibility for its protection and restoration. The ruined shrine shook. Arin looked around. Can this place become the sanctuary? The record responded. Location unsuitable. Structural stability, critical corruption pressure, severe water source, contaminated long-term shelter capacity, none. Nearby compatible territory detected. Distance, 1.7 kilometers. Designation. Old Moonkeeper's Cottage. Current status, abandoned. A silver line appeared across the shrine floor. It extended through a broken doorway and into the forest. Arin looked down at Mira. We only need to walk 1.5 kilometers. The record corrected him. Distance, 1.7 kilometers. I was trying to make it sound easier. Mira stared at him. Then she looked toward his swollen ankle. Her expression clearly suggested that she was not convinced. The black roots struck the edge of the glowing circle. Silver sparks filled the shrine. Their temporary protection was already weakening. Arin wrapped the remaining bandage around Mira's injured leg. He made it firm enough to protect the wound without restricting circulation. Mira watched every movement. When he finished, she sniffed the knot. It's not beautiful, but it will hold. She tried to stand. Her hind leg trembled. Arin lifted her carefully. Mira placed both front paws against his chest and looked offended. You can't walk. Her ears flattened. Neither can I, but one of us is slightly larger. Mira turned her head away with great dignity. Arin used his branch as a walking staff and followed the silver line from the shrine. The corruption pursued them. Black roots moved beneath the ground on both sides of the ancient path. Yet they did not cross the silver trail. The old stone lanterns awakened one after another as Arin passed. Pale blue flames appeared inside them, revealing faded carvings of beasts sleeping beneath an enormous tree. The rain softened. Mira rested against Arin's shoulder. Although she pretended to watch the forest, her eyes slowly closed. Arin continued through the pain. Each step took them farther from the ruined shrine. The forest gradually changed. Black stains still marked some roots, but colorful life returned between them. Tiny lantern-winged insects floated above violet flowers. Round seed-like creatures with leafy ears watched from a hollow log. A narrow stream flowed beside the path, its water clear enough to reveal golden pebbles beneath the surface. Mira opened her eyes at the sound. You need water. Arin knelt carefully beside the stream. The sanctuary record appeared. Water condition, mostly clean, corruption traces. 2% safe for temporary external use. Drinking without purification is not recommended. Arin poured a little water into his palm. Mira sniffed it but did not drink. Good decision. He wet the edge of a clean bandage and gently wiped the mud from around her wound. Mira endured the treatment for several seconds. Then she placed one paw on his wrist. Stop. Arin stopped immediately. All right. Her paw remained there for a moment. She seemed surprised that he had listened. Then she removed it and allowed him to carry her again. By the time the silver line left the stone path, evening light had begun filtering through the clouds. They passed between two enormous roots and entered a hidden clearing. Arin stopped. A ruined wood and stone cottage stood beneath the trees. Half the roof had collapsed. Vines covered the chimney. One shutter hung from a single hinge, and moss filled the gaps between the old stones. Nearby stood a damaged barn, an overgrown garden and the remains of a small animal shelter. A dry stone well rested near the center of the clearing. Behind the cottage, a narrow stream reflected the evening sky. And beside the stream stood a silver tree. It looked dead. Its pale trunk had split down the middle. Bare branches stretched above the cottage like frozen lightning. Yet the black roots had not entered the clearing. They surrounded it. Hundreds of them waited beyond the wildflowers, pressing against an invisible boundary too weak to remain intact for much longer. The silver trail ended at a cracked stone set before the cottage door. The open doorway symbol was carved into its surface. Arin carried Mira toward it. The sanctuary record opened one final time. Compatible territory found. Old Moonkeeper's cottage. Condition: abandoned structures, severely damaged clean water, limited food supply, none defense, dormant purified land, 0.4% safe radius, 18 meters current residents, 0. Territory may be claimed only if one creature willingly chooses to remain. Arin lowered Mira onto the grass. She could leave. The forest path remained open behind them. Their bond did not prevent it. Arin sat beside the cracked stone, suddenly too exhausted to stand. I can't promise this will become a good home. Mira looked at the broken cottage. The roof leaks. The well is dry. We have almost no food. Her nose moved at the word food. Arin noticed. You are allowed to care about practical details. Mira examined the clearing again. Arin rested one hand on the carved stone. But I can promise there will be no cages here. The wind passed through the dead silver branches. No chains. The rain stopped. And no one will be forced to stay. Mira walked toward the cottage. She limped badly, but refused to accept help. At the broken doorway, she looked back at Arin. Then she stepped across the threshold. The cracked stone awakened. Silver light flowed through the clearing. The invisible boundary became visible for one brief moment, a thin dome of pale branches spreading above the cottage. Black roots recoiled beyond the wildflowers. The dry well released a distant drop of water. A single blue flower opened inside the abandoned garden. Territory claimed. Soul Sanctuary, Stage 1. Designation: Abandoned Shelter Keeper, Arin Vale First Guardian, Mira Safe Radius, 18 meters Land Purification, 0.4%. Facilities: ruined cottage, dry well, damaged barn, collapsed shelter. Food reserve, none. Defense: minimal urgent needs. 1. Treat keeper and guardian injuries. 2. Secure drinkable water. 3. Create a dry sleeping area. 4. Find food before the next night. 5. Prevent barrier collapse. First sanctuary mission. Make one corner safe. Prepare a clean, warm resting place for one injured creature. Reward: minor territory stabilization. Failure consequence: none. The sanctuary does not punish failed kindness. Arin read the final line twice. Mira stood inside the doorway, waiting. Not commanded. Not trapped. Waiting. Arin pushed himself upright. All right. He looked at the ruined cottage, the dead tree and the corrupted forest pressing against their tiny circle of safety. 18 meters. That was all the sanctuary protected. A broken house. An injured creature. A tamer officially ranked at the bottom of the world. It was not much. But it was a beginning. Arin crossed the threshold. Behind him, unseen by either of them, the dead silver tree absorbed one drop of glowing rain. Deep beneath its bark, something faintly pulsed. Once. Chapter 4. One Safe Corner. The sanctuary gave them 18 meters of protection. The cottage gave them none. A rotten ceiling beam broke loose the moment Arin stepped inside. Mira's turquoise eyes widened. Arin twisted sideways, shielding her with his shoulder as the beam crashed across the doorway behind them. The impact shook dust, dead leaves and several very offended insects from the rafters. Arin remained still for a moment. His injured ankle throbbed. The cut across his back burned. Mira stared at the fallen beam, then slowly looked up at him. I know, Arin said. Her ears flattened. The forest tried to kill us. I didn't expect the house to join in immediately. A quiet sound came from Mira's throat. Arin was beginning to suspect that mist-horned cats could laugh. They simply refused to admit it. Outside, the last evening light faded behind Whisperwood's enormous trees. The sanctuary boundary shimmered faintly beyond the wildflowers. Black roots gathered against it, pressing their thorn-covered surfaces against the pale barrier. Every impact sent a weak silver ripple across the clearing. The protection was holding. Barely. Arin looked around the cottage. One corner had lost most of its roof. Rainwater had gathered across the floorboards beneath it. Vines entered through a broken window, and moss covered part of the northern wall. An old table lay on its side. 2 chairs had collapsed beneath their own weight. A clay stove stood near the western wall, although the pipe above it was crooked and packed with leaves. The staircase leading to the upper floor had broken halfway up. The entire building smelled of wet wood, dust and abandonment. The sanctuary record appeared. First sanctuary mission. Make one corner safe. Prepare a clean, warm resting place for one injured creature. Current progress. Dry location identified, no dangerous debris removed, no warmth established, no clean bedding prepared, no creature acceptance, pending. Time recommendation, before night temperature falls. Arin looked through the broken window. Mist was already gathering beneath the trees. How cold does this forest become at night? Mira's cloud-like tail wrapped more tightly around her body. That answers the question. Arin lowered her carefully near the wall. The moment her paws touched the floor, she tried to walk deeper into the cottage. Her injured hind leg trembled. Mira. She ignored him. 3 steps later, the damaged leg folded. Arin caught her before she struck the floor. Mira turned in his arms with an expression of deep personal insult. You are injured. Her turquoise eyes narrowed. So am I. That did not improve her mood. I'm not saying you're weak. One ear lifted slightly. I'm saying that falling onto a dirty floor with an open wound is a bad plan. Mira stared at him for several seconds. Then she allowed him to set her down beside the least damaged wall. Arin leaned his walking branch within reach. Stay here while I inspect the cottage. Mira looked toward the open doorway. The sanctuary bond carried a small pulse of displeasure. Not fear. Disagreement. Arin corrected himself. I'm going to inspect the cottage. You may remain here, follow me or do something completely different. The displeasure faded. Mira curled her tail around her paws. She had chosen to remain. Arin smiled faintly. I'm learning. The western corner was the only possible shelter. Its roof remained mostly intact, and the stone wall behind the clay stove had resisted the years better than the wooden sections. Unfortunately, it was buried beneath broken furniture, leaves and something that had once been a cupboard. Arin began with the dangerous pieces. He lifted one chair by its remaining leg. The wood separated in his hands. All right. He placed the pieces beside the stove. Firewood. The collapsed table was heavier. Arin gripped its edge and pulled. Pain tore through his left shoulder. His breath stopped. The table slipped from his hands and struck the floor. Mira appeared beside him immediately. He had not heard her approach. I'm fine. Her turquoise eyes moved toward the blood darkening the torn fabric across his back. Arin could feel her disbelief through the bond. It looks worse than it is. Mira touched one paw to his boot. A small cloud-shaped mark glowed beneath it. The bond carried the memory of him telling her that pain should not be ignored merely because someone could endure it. Arin closed his eyes. You remembered that. Mira sat down. Proudly. Arin lowered himself against the wall. His hands were shaking. The sanctuary's initial light had given him enough strength to reach the cottage, but it had not repaired his wounds. Now that he had stopped moving, exhaustion settled over him like wet cloth. The sanctuary record opened. Keeper condition. Right ankle, severe sprain left shoulder, deep bruising upper back, thorn laceration mana reserve, 8% physical exhaustion, Critical recommended action, rest and wound treatment. Warning. The keeper cannot protect a sanctuary while unconscious from preventable injuries. That last sentence sounded personal. Mira's tail moved once. Arin reached for the half-empty water bottle inside the pouch thrown by the Iron-Crest spearwoman. Only a few mouthfuls remained. He drank one. Then he stopped. Mira watched the bottle. Her nose moved. Arin poured a little water into the shallow metal cap. Mira approached but hesitated. This came from outside the corrupted area. She sniffed it. The sanctuary record confirmed that the water was clean. Mira drank slowly. Arin gave her another capful. By the time she finished, less than half the water remained. That's all for now. Mira looked at the bottle. So we agree that finding water is important. Her ears lifted. Good. Our first official sanctuary decision. Arin tore a cleaner strip from the inside of his tunic and dampened it with the remaining water. Reaching the wound on his own back was impossible. He tried once. Pain shot through his shoulder. Mira watched him struggle. I suppose asking you to hold a bandage would be unreasonable. Mira stood. Soft mist gathered around her fur. A tiny sphere of clear water formed between her horns. It was smaller than a fruit and trembled unsteadily in the air. Arin stared. Mira. The sphere floated toward his hand. The sanctuary record appeared beside it. Companion ability observed. Moisture gathering. Mira may collect small amounts of clean moisture from the surrounding air. Current effectiveness, low current environment, damp water quality, safe after basic heating. Companion condition, ability use should remain limited. The water sphere dropped into Arin's palm. Several drops escaped between his fingers. Mira swayed slightly. Arin immediately moved toward her. That was enough. She stepped away from his hand. I mean it, you helped. Mira's posture straightened. But you don't need to exhaust yourself to prove that. The bond carried a small, stubborn pulse. Arin recognized it because it felt exactly like his own stubbornness. This is going to be difficult, isn't it? Mira sat beside the stove. Her innocent expression returned. Arin used the first firestone inside the old clay stove. The stone released a steady orange glow when struck against the stable knife. Fortunately, the stove itself had not cracked. Unfortunately, the chimney was blocked. Smoke flowed directly back into the room. Arin cuffed and covered the firestone with a broken clay pot. Mira sneezed. A ring of mist burst from her nose and struck Arin in the face. He stared at her through the drifting vapor. That was not my fault. Mira turned away. Arin took the walking branch and pushed it carefully into the lower chimney opening. Leaves, soot and an abandoned nest fell onto his head. A tiny round creature with 6 leaf-shaped wings flew from the pipe, circled the room in outrage and escaped through the window. Arin wiped a twig from his hair. At least someone still knows how to leave this place. After several attempts, the blockage cleared. The firestone heated the stove without producing smoke, and warmth slowly spread through the western corner. Next came the flow. Arin used a broken plank as a scraper, pushing wet leaves, old straw and dirt toward the doorway. Mira watched for a while. Then she disappeared beneath the remains of the cupboard. Scratching sounds followed. Mira. Her cloud-like tail appeared first. Then the rest of her emerged backwards, dragging a bundle of dry silver grass. The grass had been protected inside a narrow space beneath the cupboard. Arin touched it. Dry. Soft. And faintly warm. The sanctuary record identified it. Moonrust grass. Common material in abandoned sanctuary shelters. Properties. Retains warmth, resists mold, gentle on injured creatures, absorbs minor excess mana. Condition. Old but usable after cleaning. You found bedding. Mira placed one paw on the bundle. Yes, you found it. Her chest lifted. You are clearly the better explorer. Mira accepted the statement as obvious truth. Together, though Mira would have objected to that description, they prepared the corner. Arin removed splintered boards and unstable stones. Mira pushed smaller leaves into a pile using her front paws. Whenever Arin glanced toward her, she pretended she had been inspecting the wall instead. Arin shook the moonrust grass outside the doorway, remaining inside the sanctuary boundary. Clouds of dust rose from it. Mira sneezed again. This time the mist ring struck the dust and carried most of it away. Arin looked at her. She looked at the grass. I'm counting that as cooperation. No objection reached him through the bond. A narrow cedar chest stood behind the broken cupboard. Its lid had swollen with age, but the wood remained solid. Arin forced it open with the stable knife. Inside lay a folded blanket. Most of its green color had faded, and a silver tree had been stitched into one corner. The cedar chest had protected it from moisture and insects. Arin checked every side carefully. No mold. No biting creatures. No obvious curse. He spread the blanket over the cleaned moonrust grass beside the stove. The result was not impressive. It was one warm bed in the corner of a ruined house. A cracked wall stood behind it. A broken table shielded one side from cold air. The ceiling still leaked several meters away. Yet the bedding was dry. The floor was clean. The stove radiated gentle warmth. Arin sat beside it. Try it. Mira remained where she was. You don't have to. She approached cautiously. First, she smelled the grass. Then the blanket. Then the wall. She stepped onto the bedding with 3 paws, keeping the injured leg raised. The material compressed beneath her. Mira turned once. Then twice. Finally, she lowered herself into the center. Her large tail curled around her body. The sanctuary record glowed. Mission complete. Make one corner safe. A clean, dry and warm resting place has been accepted voluntarily by an injured sanctuary resident. Reward applied. Minor territory stabilization facility registered. Sheltered resting corner nighttime recovery improved slightly within the space sanctuary boundary deterioration slowed. Failure consequence, none. The sanctuary remembers every act of care. Silver light passed through the western corner. It did not repair the ruined roof. It did not replace the walls. Instead, it settled into the work Arin had already completed. The blanket became slightly warmer. The stones beside the stove stopped releasing damp cold. A thin line of silver appeared along the intact ceiling beams, strengthening them without changing their weathered appearance. Outside, the barrier brightened. The sanctuary record updated. Soul Sanctuary, Stage 1. Safe radius, 18 meters. Land purification, 0.4% facilities. Ruined cottage, dry well, damaged barn. Collapsed creature shelter, sheltered resting corner. Boundary stability, 27%. Right pointing arrow, 39%. Arin released a long breath. 39% was not reassuring. But it was better than 27. Mira rested her head upon the blanket. Her eyes began to close. Arin leaned against the wall beside the bed. He had intended to examine her wound again. He had intended to clean his own back, inspect the well and find food. His body disagreed. The room tilted. Arin's head struck the wall lightly. Mira's eyes opened. I'm resting. The bond carried concern. Just for a minute. Arin's vision darkened. Then the sanctuary boundary screamed. A sharp silver sound tore across the clearing. Mira leapt from the bedding. Arin forced himself upright. Outside the cottage, the wildflowers along the northern boundary had bent toward the ground. Something moved beneath them. A black line crossed the clearing. It had already passed through the barrier. Arin gripped his walking branch. That root was inside the sanctuary before we claimed it. The corrupted vein pushed through the soil beside the cottage. It was smaller than the tendrils at the shrine, but it moved quickly, searching beneath the earth. The sanctuary record flashed. Internal corruption detected. Source: dormant black root fragment location. Beneath Western Cottage Foundation corruption activity, increasing threat. Sheltered resting corner territory anchor companion recovery. Warning: destroying the physical root without separating the corruption may spread contamination through the sanctuary soil. The black root struck upward. Floorboards broke beside Mira's new bed. She sprang away as thorns tore through the blanket. Arin's exhaustion vanished beneath cold anger. Not because his work had been damaged. Because the first safe place Mira had accepted had been attacked less than a minute after it was created. The root turned toward her. Arin drove the walking branch beneath it, forcing it away. Thorns cut into the wood. The root twisted and threw him across the floor. His injured shoulder struck the wall. Pain blinded him. Mira's fear entered the bond. Then something stronger covered it. Protectiveness. Mist filled the cottage. The root lashed through the white cloud, unable to locate her. Arin pressed one hand to the floor. Corruption sense. Darkness spread through his awareness. The root beneath them was only one branch of a tangled knot buried below the foundation. Part of the knot carried the black root infection. But beneath the corruption remained a pale natural root. It belonged to the dead silver tree outside. The black root had invaded it. Simply cutting the root would damage the sanctuary's own foundation. It isn't an enemy, Arin whispered. The root struck near his hand. It's infected. Mira appeared beside him through the mist. Her horns glowed faintly. Another sphere of water formed between them. This one was smaller than the first. Mira, you need to rest. Her eyes hardened. The root had attacked her bed. Rest was apparently no longer being considered. The water sphere floated toward Arin. He understood. Put it on the root. Mira released the sphere. Clear water splashed across the thorn-covered surface. The root recoiled. For 1 second, the water revealed two separate currents beneath the black bark. A faint silver line. And the oily corruption wrapped around it. Arin placed both hands against the wet root. Cold entered him immediately. The black root searched for pain. It found plenty. His ankle. His shoulder. The open wound across his back. His hunger. His fear that the sanctuary would collapse before morning. The corruption tightened. Arin's hands began to shake. You aren't getting this place. The dark fibers pressed deeper. Images entered his mind. The cottage collapsing. Mira trapped beneath the roof. The barrier disappearing. Derek returning only to find Arin dead. A cold suggestion followed. Command her. The thought did not feel like his own. Take her strength. The sanctuary bond pulsed between Arin and Mira. No commands available. No forced recall. No authority. Those limits had seemed like weaknesses in the guild hall. Now they protected both of them. I don't need to take anything. Arin opened his hands against the root. Mira already chose to help. Her small paw touched his wrist. Turquoise light joined the silver glow beneath his fingers. Arin separated the corruption as he had separated it from Mira's wounded leg. Not by crushing it. Not by pulling harder. By finding the boundary. The black fibers resisted. Mira's clean water moved into the cracks. The sanctuary responded. Silver light flowed from the completed resting corner, crossed the floorboards and entered the root beneath Arin's palms. The natural root brightened. The corruption peeled away in thin strands. Black thorns softened. Their sharp tips became harmless gray bark. A final knot remained near the center. Arin felt a deep loneliness inside it. Not the emotion of the corruption. The memory of the silver tree. Years without rain. Years without creatures resting beneath its branches. Years standing beside an empty cottage while its roots slowly darkened. Arin's anger disappeared. You were abandoned too. The pale root trembled. Arin allowed the sanctuary's warmth to pass through his hands. This place is not empty anymore. Mira pressed closer. The black knot opened. Silver water burst through it. The remaining corruption dissolved into grey mist. The root lowered gently to the floor. Its bark had become pale silver. A single tiny blue bud grew from its side. The cottage became silent. First land purification achieved. Purified area, 0.9 square meters black root fragment, separated natural sanctuary root, preserved. Land purification, 0.4% right pointing arrow 1.1% boundary stability, 39% right pointing arrow 51%. New environmental connection detected. The dead silver tree remains alive. Condition: critically dormant. Arin stared at the final line. Outside, a faint glow traveled through the grass toward the split trunk tree. It entered the roots. One narrow silver vein appeared beneath the tree's pale bark. Mira's legs folded. Arin caught her. No more abilities tonight. She gave a weak sound of protest. That wasn't a suggestion. Mira stared at him. Arin corrected himself immediately. It was a strongly expressed request. Her eyes closed. He carried her back to the resting corner. The root had torn part of the blanket, but most of the bedding remained intact. Arin folded the damaged section beneath the moonrust grass and lowered Mira onto it. She did not object this time. The sanctuary record showed her condition. Mira. Physical condition: injured, exhausted, corruption level, 14% right pointing arrow, 12% trust level, 12% right pointing arrow, 17% current need, uninterrupted rest. Arin touched the fur between her small horns. I can manage that. Mira opened one eye. Arin removed his hand before she needed to tell him. Her eye closed again. He sat on the bare floor beside the bedding. The warmth from the stove had begun fading, but one firestone still remained covered beneath the clay pot. Arin uncovered it slightly. Orange light returned to the corner. He cleaned the shallow cuts on his hands. Rewrapped his ankle. Then, with considerable difficulty, he pressed a damp cloth against the wound on his back and secured it beneath the remains of his tunic. It was not proper treatment. But it would slow the bleeding until morning. Assuming morning came peacefully. Arin looked through the window. The black roots remained beyond the boundary. For the first time, however, they were not pressing against every side. The section nearest the purified silver root had withdrawn several meters. One small patch of grass stood brighter than the rest. The sanctuary was still broken. They still had no food. Their drinking water was gone. The roof still leaked. The well remained dry. But one corner was warm. One root had been saved. One frightened creature slept without chains. Arin allowed his eyes to close. Something soft touched his leg. Mira had left the center of the bedding. She now rested along its edge, her cloud-like tail extended across the floor until its tip covered Arin's injured ankle. Arin looked at her. She appeared asleep. You moved closer. One turquoise eye opened. Arin wisely said nothing else. He leaned his head against the wall. For a few minutes, there was only the sound of the stove and the quiet wind beyond the damaged window. Then a drop of water echoed outside. Arin opened his eyes. Another drop fell. Not from the sky. The forest above the sanctuary was clear. The sound had come from the dry stone well. Arin reached for his branch and stepped carefully into the clearing. Silver light from the purified root followed him through the grass. Mira appeared in the doorway behind him, limping but alert. I thought we agreed on rest. She ignored him. Together, they approached the well. Arin looked over the stone edge. The shaft descended into darkness. It should have been completely dry. Instead, A single point of pale blue light shone far below. A drop formed somewhere in the depths. It fell. The sound echoed upward. The sanctuary record appeared above the well. Dormant facility reacting. Moonkeeper's well. Water source, sealed internal corruption, unknown ancient channels restored, 1 of 7 activation requirement, incomplete. New sanctuary mission. Water for the wounded. Discover why the well was sealed. Warning. Something beneath the cottage has noticed the first purification. A sound rose from the bottom of the well. Not a growl. Not moving water. A slow scrape of stone against stone. Mira's fur lifted. Far beneath them, the pale blue light blinked out. Then something knocked once against the sealed wall below.
Chapter 5, The Well That Remembered Rain. Something knocked from beneath the sealed well. Once. Twice. Then 3 times. The sound traveled through the old stone and entered Arin's injured ankle like a second heartbeat. Mira stood beside him with every strand of her white fur raised. Pale mist curled around her paws, and her turquoise eyes remained fixed on the darkness below. Arin tightened his grip on the walking branch. Whatever is down there knows we're listening. A low vibration rose through the well. The circular stones beneath Arin's hand shifted. Black dust escaped through a narrow crack in the inner wall. The sanctuary record appeared. Moonkeeper's well. Water source, sealed ancient channels restored, 1 of 7 internal pressure, rising corruption status, unknown. Warning. Do not break the seal by force. A damaged seal may release contaminated water into sanctuary territory. Arin slowly stepped away from the edge. That removes the fastest option. Mira looked at the stable knife hanging from his belt. I was not planning to stab the well. Her gaze did not move. I considered it for less than a second. The well knocked again. This time, a pale blue point appeared far below. It moved sideways through the darkness, then vanished behind stone. Not an eye. At least Arin hoped it was not an eye. The sanctuary boundary flickered beyond the clearing. Black roots remained outside the wildflowers, but their pressure had weakened near the purified western foundation. Inside the cottage, the last firestone warmed the only safe corner they possessed. Arin's body begged him to return to it. His back wound had begun bleeding again. His shoulder could barely lift the branch, and every step sent a sharp pulse through his wrapped ankle. Mira's condition was not much better. She had already used moisture gathering twice, created water during the root purification, and left her bedding to follow him. Investigating an underground mystery in the middle of the night would be foolish. Arin looked down the well once more. We'll examine it after sunrise. Mira remained beside the rim. You may continue staring at it, but I'm going inside. Her ears turned toward him. Arin began limping back to the cottage. After several moments, soft pause followed. He pretended not to notice. Morning entered through the broken roof. A narrow beam of golden light crossed the western wall and settled over Mira's resting corner. Arin woke on the floor beside it. For several confused seconds, he could not remember where he was. Then his ankle throbbed. The torn cottage returned. The sanctuary. The well. Mira. Her cloud-shaped tail rested across his waist like a heavy blanket. Arin turned his head. Mira lay in the center of the moonrust grass with her eyes closed. One front paw covered her nose, and the bandage around her hind leg remained in place. She appeared comfortable. Arin moved carefully. Mira's tail tightened. He stopped. One turquoise eye opened. I need to stand. The eye closed again. The tail did not move. Mira. A quiet, displeased sound came from the bedding. Arin looked at the weak sunlight passing through the roof. The well may contain our only safe water. No response. We also have almost no food. Mira's eye opened immediately. Arin nodded. I thought that might be important. Her tail released him. Arin pushed himself upright with the walking branch. His condition had improved slightly after several hours of rest, but only slightly. Keeper condition. Right ankle, severe sprain, stable left shoulder, deep bruising upper back, thorn laceration, bleeding, reduced mana reserve, 16%. Physical exhaustion, severe. Recommended action. Avoid climbing, fighting, carrying heavy objects and prolonged mana use. That is a very complete description of everything I was planning today. Mira left the bedding and walked toward the pouch near the stove. Her limp remained obvious, though she placed slightly more weight on the injured leg. Arin opened the pouch. The half-empty bottle contained almost no water. One firestone remained. The small strip of dried meat was gone. Arin searched the pouch again. Mira. She sat beside him. The food was here last night. Mira examined one paw. Arin looked beneath the broken table. Nothing. Then he noticed a corner of brown cloth beneath the moonrust grass. He lifted the blanket. The dried meat lay hidden underneath it. Mira turned her head toward the damaged window. You hid our entire food supply. Her ears lowered slightly. Arin picked up the meat. It was barely enough for one meal. He tore it into two unequal pieces and placed the larger one before Mira. She smelled it. Then she pushed it back toward him. Arin stared. You need it more. Mira pushed it again. The sanctuary bond carried a firm refusal. Arin divided the larger piece in half. Equal portions. Mira watched him carefully. No negotiation. Her eyes narrowed at the commanding tone. Arin corrected himself. My suggested agreement is equal portions. Mira accepted. They ate beside the fading stove. The meat was dry, salty and difficult to chew. It was still the best breakfast Arin had ever shared. In daylight, the moonkeeper's well looked less threatening. It also looked more complicated. 7 shallow crescent shapes had been carved around the circular rim. One glowed with a narrow silver line. The remaining 6 were dark. Old vines covered the rare stones. Arin removed them carefully, revealing a worn inscription. Most of the writing had disappeared. Only 4 words remained clear. Close the water kindly. Arin traced the letters. Not lock, not bind. Mira sniffed the glowing crescent. Close. The sanctuary's magic had repeatedly used similar language. Open doors. Accepted shelter. Protection without force. Perhaps even the well had been designed around choice rather than domination. Arin touched the first crescent. A thin image appeared inside his mind. Water moving through a silver root. A stone channel opening. Then darkness blocked the vision. The single restored channel was the natural route they had purified beneath the cottage. The other 6 traveled in different directions. One ran toward the stream. One toward the dead silver tree. One beneath the garden. 3 disappeared beyond the sanctuary boundary. The 7th descended deeper than the rest. Mira suddenly turned toward the damaged barn. Her horns released a faint turquoise glow. She took several steps north, stopped and turned again. What do you sense? A cool impression entered Arin through the bond. Water. Not visible water. The memory of rain traveling through stone. Mira moved toward the cottage foundation, paused, then followed the western wall. The sanctuary record responded. Companion ability confirmed. Rain sense. Mira can detect nearby moisture, rain-bearing mana and natural water movement. Current range, limited accuracy reduced by injury and corruption underground water direction, detected. Mira lifted her chin. You already knew you could do that. Her expression suggested that the question was unnecessary. You could have mentioned it. Mira continued walking. Arin followed. The trail led behind the ruined cupboard, where the purified silver root had emerged through the floor. A circular iron ring lay hidden beneath dead leaves. Arin pulled it. A section of floor rose several centimeters before stopping. He pulled again. His shoulder failed. The wooden panel dropped with a heavy thud. Mira stared at him. I know what the record said. She placed both front paws against the panel. The effort accomplished nothing. Arin tried not to smile. I appreciate the support. Mira's horns brightened. Mist gathered beneath the wooden panel and expanded. The old hatch lifted just enough for Arin to slide the walking branch under its edge. Together, they raised it. Stone steps descended beneath the cottage. Cool pale blue light reflected from somewhere below. Arin looked at the steps. Then at his ankle. Then at Mira's bandaged leg. This is an excellent staircase for 2 creatures who should not use stairs. Mira stepped onto the first one. Or we could ignore medical advice together. She continued downward. Arin followed slowly. The hidden chamber beneath the cottage had been built around the roots of the silver tree. 7 stone channels met in a wide circular basin. Carvings of clouds, leaves and resting creatures covered the walls. Although the chamber had remained sealed for years, the air smelled clean rather than rotten. A pale natural root entered through the western wall. Silver water traveled through a groove in its surface, reaching the central basin one drop at a time. The other channels were blocked by round stone gates. Black fibers filled the cracks around several of them. At the center stood a vertical wheel carved from white stone. It tried to turn. A thick corrupted root had grown between its spokes. The wheel moved a fraction. Stopped. Then struck the surrounding frame. Knock. Arin exhaled. So that was the monster. Mira approached the wheel suspiciously. It may still be dangerous. A weathered cloak hung from a hook near the wall. Beside it rested a collection of simple tools, a stone mallet, a wooden wedge, a coil of rope and a shallow copper bowl marked with the crescent tree symbol. No miraculous weapon. No healing potion. Only maintenance equipment left by someone who had expected to return. A stone tablet rested beneath the tools. Arin wiped the dust from its surface. The carved message was short. To the next keeper. The well was not sealed to keep water from the sanctuary. It was sealed to keep sickness from traveling with the water. Open no channel you cannot first hear clearly. When clean rain answers clean root, the gates will remember their purpose. Arin read the words twice. The last keeper knew the water had become corrupted. Mira touched the edge of the copper bowl. A faint image entered Arin's awareness. Hands placing the bowl beneath falling rain. A small white creature drinking from it. A silver tree filled with leaves. Then the memory ended. The sanctuary did not explain who those hands belonged to. It only remembered the act. Arin examined the central wheel. The corrupted root did not originate inside the chamber. It had entered through the northern channel and grown across the mechanism. Cutting it might free the wheel. It might also release everything trapped behind that gate. Arin placed one hand against the channel wall. Corruption sense. Cold darkness spread through his palm. Behind the stone gate, water pressed through a narrow underground passage. The water itself was not fully corrupted. Black fibers surrounded it, feeding contamination into the current. Arin withdrew his hand. We cannot open the gate yet. Mira looked toward the clean western channel. But we may not need to. He followed the small flow of silver water. It entered the central basin, but the basin contained a crack. Every drop disappeared into the earth before enough could collect. The knocking wheel was not trying to open the northern gate. It was attempting to rotate a stone plate beneath the basin, directing the clean western flow upward toward the well. The corrupted root had jammed it. If we free the wheel without opening the other gates, the restored channel might fill the well. The sanctuary record appeared. Water for the wounded. Objective discovered. Restore the Moonkeeper's emergency water path. Requirements. Preserve the mess-seal, remove corruption from the control root, repair the central basin crack, redirect one clean channel toward the surface. Current safe water capacity if successful. Limited. Sufficient for 2 injured residents. Arin looked at the cracked basin. We need to seal that first. The chamber contained no mortar. No clay. No proper tools for stone repair. Mira sniffed around the western channel and pawed at a patch of pale moss growing beside the silver root. The moss had wide translucent leaves covered in sticky blue sap. The record identified it. Sealware moss. Natural growth found beside sanctuary waterways. When pressed into small stone cracks, its fibers expand in clean moisture. Suitable for temporary repairs. Arin touched one leaf. We finally found something useful that does not immediately attack us. The moss curled around his fingertip. He removed his hand. Too early to celebrate. They gathered only what was needed, leaving the mere patch intact. Arin cleaned loose dust from the crack using the old cloth from the maintenance tools. Mira created a tiny sphere of moisture, just enough to soften the moss without exhausting herself. Together, they pressed the fibers into the basin. The blue sap hardened. The next silver drop remained inside. Then another. The basin slowly began to hold water. The corrupted control root was more difficult. Arin touched it and immediately sensed hunger. It had wrapped itself around a natural silver root connected to the wheel. The invasion resembled Mira's infection and the foundation root from the previous night. But Arin's mana had not recovered enough for another long purification. He tried anyway. Silver light gathered beneath his fingers. The black fibers tightened. Pain surged through his injured shoulder. Arin's knees struck the stone floor. Mira placed one paw on his wrist. Stop. Arin kept his hand against the root. We need water. Her paw pressed harder. If we leave it. The bond carried the memory of Arin moving his hand away the moment Mira had refused treatment beside the stream. He understood. Respect did not travel in only one direction. Arin removed his hand. The silver light vanished. Mira remained beside him. I don't know another way. She looked toward the copper bowl. Then toward the restored western channel. Mira pushed the bowl beneath the falling drops. A small amount of silver water gathered inside. She dipped one paw into it. The cloud-shaped mark beneath her pad began glowing. Turquoise light traveled through the bowl. Arin felt a soft pressure through their bond. Not a transfer of strength. An offer to work beside him. The sanctuary record flickered. Cooperative sanctuary resonance. Companion assistance, voluntary authority used, non-growth sharing, remains locked. Temporary effect. Keeper may perceive the direction of clean water through Mira's rain sense. The chamber changed inside Arin's perception. Every drop became a clear note. The western channel sung softly. The black fibers produced no sound of their own. They only smothered the natural root's quieter rhythm. Arin placed his hand against the control root again. This time, he did not search blindly. Mira's rain sense guided him toward the thin line of clean moisture trapped beneath the corruption. There you are. Silver light followed the water. The natural root brightened. Mira maintained her paw inside the bowl, trembling with effort. Arin separated the first black fiber. Then the second. The corrupted root struck the floor. The chamber shook. One of the sealed gates groaned beneath increased pressure. Arin did not pull harder. He opened space around the silver root. The clean water expanded through it. Black bark cracked. Dark vapor escaped from the fibers. The final knot clung to the stone wheel. A desperate emotion entered Arin. Fear of being washed away. The corruption was not truly alive. Yet it had learned to preserve itself by reflecting the pain around it. Arin did not answer with anger. This water was never yours. Mira's turquoise light strengthened. The silver current passed through the knot. The corruption released the root. Black fibers fell into the basin and dissolved before touching the clean water. The stone wheel turned. Once. The movement echoed through the underground chamber. A circular plate shifted beneath the basin. Silver water flowed into a narrow vertical channel leading upward. Emergency water path restored. Ancient channels restored, 2 of 7 may well seal, untapped water output, limited water quality, clean after heating daily capacity, sufficient for 2 residents. Land purification, 1.1% 1.6% boundary stability, 51% at 58%. Facility status updated. Moonkeeper's well partially awakened. Arin's arms gave way. He sat heavily against the basin. Mira removed her paw from the copper bowl and nearly fell. Arin caught her against his chest. You were supposed to stop me from overworking. Mira rested her head beneath his chin. I suppose that did not include you. Her tail curled around his wrist. For a while, neither moved. Above them, water began rising through the old well. The surface remained far below the rim, but it was real. Clear water reflected the morning sky from the bottom of the shaft. Arin lowered the old copper bowl using the maintenance rope. When he lifted it, the bowl contained enough water for several drinks. The sanctuary record repeated its warning. Safe after heating. Arin carried it to the cottage and placed it in the cleanest clay pot he could find. The final firestone heated the water until small bubbles appeared. Mira sat beside the stove, watching every movement. After the water cooled, Arin poured some into the metal cap. Mira drank. Her eyes closed briefly. A faint turquoise glow moved through her white fur. Arin drank next. The water tasted cool, slightly sweet and cleaner than anything he remembered from the city. It did not heal his wounds instantly. It did not refill his mana. It was only water. At that moment, it felt more valuable than gold. Arin used the remaining amount to clean Mira's injured leg. This time, she extended it before he asked. He removed the old bandage. The puncture wounds remained swollen, but the dark corruption beneath the fur had receded. Tell me to stop when you need me to. Mira watched his hands. Arin cleaned the wound carefully. She did not stop him. When he finished, he wrapped the leg using a clean strip from the maintenance cloak. The sanctuary record updated. Mira. Physical condition, injured, stabilizing dehydration, reduced corruption level, 12% 9% trust level, 17% 23%. Current recommendation. Food rest. Limited movement, no unnecessary ability use. Mira looked away from the final sentence. You saw it. She continued looking away. Arin cleaned his own back as well as he could and replaced the stained cloth beneath his tunic. His ankle still required proper treatment. His shoulders still hurt. But thirst no longer threatened them before nightfall. That was enough for one morning. Near sunset, Arin returned to the well. The second crescent around the rim now glowed silver. The remaining 5 stayed dark. The Meh seal had not opened. Whatever contamination waited in the deeper channels remained safely contained. Mira sat beside Arin, her bandaged leg held slightly above the grass. The sanctuary looked different in evening light. The purified patch near the cottage had widened. Small blue flowers followed the western route. The wildflowers along the boundary stood straighter. Even the dead silver tree seemed less empty. One pale vein now traveled from its roots to the lowest branch. Arin placed the copper bowl beside the tree. It contained a small amount of heated well water. We should keep this for drinking. Mira looked at the tree. The sanctuary bond carried a different feeling. Thirst. Not hers. The land's. Arin understood. The well can only provide enough for us. Mira's turquoise eyes remained on the split trunk. They had spent the day fighting for a few bowls of water. Giving any away seemed impractical. Then Arin remembered the sanctuary's first rule. Shelter could not exist only when kindness was easy. He poured half the bowl over the silver tree's exposed roots. The dry earth absorbed every drop. Nothing happened. No system reward appeared. No branch moved. Arin smiled tiredly. That is usually how watering a tree works. Mira stepped beside the damp soil. She lowered her head. Her 2 sky blue horns glowed. Far above the sanctuary, a small white cloud formed. The rest of Whisperwood's sky remained clear. Arin looked upward. The cloud was barely wider than the cottage roof. No rain fell from it. Mira's legs began trembling. Arin touched her shoulder. Not tonight. She looked at the dead tree. You have already done enough. The cloud remained above them for several seconds. Then it faded into the evening sky. A final system message appeared. Dormant bloodline resonance detected. Source: Mira. Response: Silver Sanctuary Tree Resonance Type, Rain and Renewal. Current state: incomplete. New Sanctuary Mission. Return rain to the root. The land remembers water. The guardian remembers the sky. Neither can awaken alone. A breeze moved through the clearing. From somewhere beyond the sanctuary boundary came a faint cry. Small. Weak. Thirsty. Mira turned toward the sound. Arin reached for his walking branch. Between 2 black roots outside the wildflowers, a pair of golden eyes watched the copper water bowl. The unknown creature did not cross the boundary. It only stood in the corrupted forest, trembling beneath leaves that had forgotten how to hold rain. Chapter 6: The Rain That Came Home. The golden-eyed creature remained outside the sanctuary boundary. It stood between 2 black roots, trembling beneath broad silver-green leaves. Arin could see it clearly now. Its body was small and pear-shaped, no taller than Mira's back. Short moss-like fur covered it in pale gold and soft green. 4 petal-shaped ears surrounded its round head, and 2 transparent feelers curved above its brow, each ending in an empty crystal droplet. 6 tiny feet pressed against the corrupted earth. A flat leaf-shaped tail curled beneath its body. It looked nothing like any animal Arin had known on earth. It also looked painfully thirsty. The creature stared at the copper bowl beside the silver tree. Then it looked at Arin. Fear passed through Arin's beast empathy. Dryness. Exhaustion. The bitter taste of contaminated water. And a memory of something large moving behind it through the forest. Arin glanced beyond the creature. The black roots remained still. Too still. Mira stood beside his injured leg. Her cloud-shaped tail had doubled in size, and a quiet warning growl vibrated in her throat. You sense it too. Mira did not look away from the stranger. The unknown creature took 1 step toward the sanctuary. Silver light appeared among the wildflowers. It stopped immediately. The barrier had not attacked it. The creature had simply become frightened by the magic. Arin lowered his walking branch. Easy. 4 petal ears turned toward him. I'm not coming closer. Arin picked up the copper bowl. Mira's head snapped toward him. We have more water in the well. The sanctuary record appeared as if correcting him. Moonkeeper's well partially awakened. Daily clean water capacity. Limited. Current available water. Approximately 3 bowls. Recommended allocation. Drinking, wound cleaning, heating and food preparation. Arin looked at the final line. We don't have food to prepare. Mira stared at him. That was not meant to be encouraging. Arin carried the bowl toward the boundary. His ankle protested every step. When he reached the wildflowers, he placed the bowl just inside the silver line. The golden-eyed creature backed away. Arin retreated toward the cottage. He sat upon a low stone beside Mira and placed the branch across his knees. There, it can decide. Mira remained standing. Her eyes narrowed at the stranger. You decided to enter. The sanctuary bond carried immediate disagreement. Yes, your situation was different. More disagreement. You were being chased by corrupted roots inside a collapsing shrine. Mira finally looked at him. Arin sighed. I understand. You are the first guardian, and an unknown creature is near your home. Her posture lifted slightly. But being first guardian does not mean frightening away every visitor. Mira's ears lowered. The creature outside took another step. Then another. It reached the wildflowers. The sanctuary boundary shimmered around its body. A soft system message appeared. Unbonded creature requests temporary shelter. No sanctuary bond required. No ownership established. No authority granted. Entry condition. The creature must cross willingly. The golden-eyed creature stretched one tiny foot over the glowing line. Nothing seized it. No seal appeared. No command pressed against its will. It placed the foot among the wildflowers. Then a second. Finally, with one frightened leap, it crossed completely. The silver boundary closed gently behind it. The creature ran toward the copper bowl. It lowered its face into the water and drank so quickly that half the bowl spilled across the grass. Slowly, Arin said. The 4 petal ears lifted. The creature froze. Arin remained seated. No one is taking it from you. After several seconds, the creature began drinking again. This time, it paused between mouthfuls. Mira watched with a complicated expression. The stranger finished the water and licked several droplets from the copper rim. Then its 6 legs folded. It collapsed beside the bowl. Arin pushed himself upright. Mira moved first. Mist formed beneath her paws as she crossed the clearing. She stopped several steps from the creature, body low and suspicious. Arin followed more slowly. The golden-eyed visitor tried to rise. Its legs failed. Don't force yourself. Arin crouched outside biting distance. The creature's transparent feelers were completely dry. A dark splinter protruded from one of its front feet and black veins had begun spreading around it. Not a severe infection. Not yet. The sanctuary record appeared. Creature condition detected. Species, dewbird forager bond status, non-sanctuary status, temporary guest. Physical condition. Severe dehydration minus starvation, black root splinter, extreme fatigue. Corruption level, 4%. Temperament. Timid. Non-aggressive. Highly sensitive to water mana. Immediate needs. Rest. Clean water, splinter removal, safe edible plants. A dewbird forager. The creature's leaf-shaped tail moved weakly. Mira approached one step closer and sniffed. The dewbird's 4 ears closed around its head like flower petals. Mira looked offended. It is afraid, Arin said. Mira turned toward him as though this were obvious. You were also afraid when we met. Her eyes narrowed. That was not criticism. Arin searched the purified patch near the cottage. Several low plants had grown beside the silver root after the previous night's purification. Their leaves were round, blue-green and covered in tiny shining beads. The record identified them. Clearbell clover. Edible to small forest grazers. Restores minor moisture. Safe within purified soil. Current amount. Limited. Arin gathered only a few leaves, leaving the roots undisturbed. He placed them near the dewbird. The creature sniffed cautiously. Then its mouth opened much wider than Arin expected. Every leaf disappeared in one bite. Arin stared at the empty ground. You could have pretended to chew. The dewbird's petal ears opened slightly. Mira released a quiet sound. Arin looked at her. That was definitely laughter. Mira began cleaning one front paw. The black root splinter was lodged beneath the dewbird's outer footpad. Arin showed it the stable knife before placing the blade on the ground. I need to remove that. The creature's ears closed again. I will stop if you pull away. Mira sat across from the dewbird. She placed one pale blue paw upon the grass. A small turquoise cloud mark glowed beneath it. The dewbird watched her. Mira touched her own bandaged hind leg. Then she looked toward Arin. The meaning was clear. He helped me. The dewbird's fear weakened. It extended the injured foot. Arin rested 2 fingers beside the splinter. Thank you. Gentle touch spread through his hand. The creature's pain entered his awareness as a sharp pressure. Arin separated the thin corruption fibers from the healthy tissue, then used the tip of the stable knife to lift the splinter free. A drop of dark liquid formed upon it. The silver grass beneath his hand purified the drop before it could reach the soil. The dewbird pulled its foot back. The black veins stopped spreading. Black root splinter removed. Corruption level, 4% 2%. Further purification requires clean water, natural rest, stable environmental mana. Arin cleaned the small wound with part of the next bowl of heated well water. The dewbird drank the remainder. Mira watched every drop disappear. Arin noticed. There is still one bowl left. Mira looked toward the silver tree. The mission from the previous evening remained suspended above its roots. Return rain to the root. The land remembers water. The guardian remembers the sky. Neither can awaken alone. Progress. Clean root restored, confirmed rain, guardian present, confirmed natural acceptance, incomplete first rain not achieved. Arin read the unfamiliar line again. Natural acceptance. Mira approached the tree. The pale vein beneath its bark had not spread since yesterday. The trunk remained split. Its branches remained bare. Only the tiny blue bud upon the purified root showed any visible life. Arin placed one hand against the bark. Cold silence entered him. Not death. Waiting. The tree remembered rain falling through leaves that no longer existed. It remembered small creatures resting beneath its branches. It remembered water flowing through 7 open channels. It remembered a white guardian moving among clouds. The final memory was distant and blurred. A creature larger than the cottage stood upon the sky. White fur became storm clouds. 2 great blue horns held rivers of rain between them. Then the image disappeared. Arin pulled his hand away. Mira was staring at him. I saw something. Her fur lifted. I don't know what it was. The sanctuary bond carried uncertainty. And fear. Arin did not reach toward her. Whatever you were before we met, you don't have to become it today. Mira looked toward the dead branches. The small cloud she had formed the previous evening had not produced a single drop. Her power had failed. Or perhaps her body had stopped itself before the attempt could harm her. Arin understood the difference. The tree is not asking you to prove anything. Mira's turquoise eyes lowered. It can wait. The golden-eyed dewbird made a soft chiming sound behind them. Its transparent feelers had begun filling with moisture. The droplets were small, but they glowed faintly blue. The creature walked toward the silver tree. It stopped beside Mira. Then it folded its 6 legs and pressed its body against the exposed root. The crystal droplets above its head touched the bark. A soft ringing passed through the clearing. The tiny blue bud opened slightly. The sanctuary record changed. Natural acceptance detected. A wild creature has chosen to rest beneath the sanctuary tree. Temporary shelter recognized. The land remembers its purpose. Arin looked at Mira. She stared at the dewbird. The visitor had no bond. No duty. It had entered only for water and safety. Yet it had chosen the tree as its resting place. Perhaps that was what the mission required. Not greater strength. A reason for rain to return. The afternoon passed quietly. Arin used broken boards from the cottage to create a shallow cover beside the silver root. It was not a proper shelter, but it protected the dewbird from falling branches. Mira supervised from the grass. Whenever Arin placed a board incorrectly, she tapped it with one paw. You have never built anything in your life. Mira tapped the board again. Arin adjusted it. The board settled more firmly. He looked at her. That proves nothing. Mira walked away with her tail raised. By sunset, the dewbird could stand without shaking. Its 4 ears had opened fully, revealing pale blue inner petals. The crystal droplets upon its feelers remained bright. It could leave whenever it wished. Instead, it stayed beneath the tree. Mira brought one piece of moonrust grass from the cottage. She placed it near the dewbird. Then she quickly stepped away, as though the grass had fallen from the sky. Arin wisely pretended not to see. The dewbird curled upon the dry bedding. Its golden eyes closed. Mira sat several steps away. Her tail rested near the edge of the grass. Not touching the visitor. Almost touching. Arin leaned against the tree. You are doing very well for someone who wanted to chase it away. Mira's tail struck his boot. Pain shot through his ankle. Arin inhaled sharply. Mira froze. Her ears lowered. It's fine. She stared at the bandages. Arin corrected himself. It hurt, but I know it was an accident. Mira's head lowered further. Arin sat beside her. You don't have to be perfect to protect something. Her turquoise eyes turned toward him. Neither do I. A breeze moved through the clearing. The dewbird's crystal feelers chimed softly. Mira looked toward the sky. No clouds covered Whisperwood. The evening remained clear and gold. She stood. Mira. She walked to the copper bowl. Only one serving of water remained. Enough for them until the well produced more in the morning. Mira pushed the bowl toward Arin. Then she looked at the silver tree. You want to give it the remaining water? A firm pulse answered. We will be thirsty tonight. Mira did not move. Arin looked at the sleeping dewbird. At the bandage around Mira's leg. At the dead branches above them. They had fought to restore the emergency water path. Using their final bowl upon a tree seemed unreasonable. But the well would produce more. Slowly. And the tree's roots protected the sanctuary beneath their feet. Arin picked up the bowl. Half. Mira tilted her head. Half for the tree, half for us. She considered the proposal. Then she placed one paw against the bowl. Agreement. Arin poured half the clean water around the exposed silver root. The earth absorbed it immediately. Mira dipped one paw into the remaining half. Turquoise light spread across the surface. She lifted her wet paw and pressed it against the tree. The cloud-shaped mark beneath it glowed. Nothing happened. The sky remained clear. Mira closed her eyes. Mist gathered around her body. Her small horns brightened. A white cloud formed above the sanctuary. It trembled. Then began to disappear. Mira's injured leg folded. Arin caught her before she fell. That is enough. Mira struggled weakly against his hands. No. Her eyes flashed. The sanctuary bond carried frustration. The tree needed rain. The visitor needed clean land. The roots outside were waiting. And she believed that the first guardian should be strong enough to protect all of it. Arin held her carefully. You were trapped. Mira stopped struggling. You were injured, chased, corrupted. You crossed half the forest while bleeding. Her eyes remained fixed on the fading cloud. You do not owe the sanctuary a storm because it gave you one bed. Mira looked at him. You already chose to stay. That is enough. The last cloud vanished. Mira's ears lowered. Arin placed her beside the tree. I don't need the divine beast you might become someday. Her turquoise eyes widened. I need Mira. The bond became warm. Not powerful. Not explosive. Simply warm. The dewbird opened its golden eyes. It rose and approached Mira. The two creatures touched nostrils. One of the crystal droplets on the dewbird's feeler broke free. It landed upon Mira's horn. The clearing became silent. A memory moved through their bond. Rain at the ruined shrine. Arin shielding Mira from the black root. Rain upon the forest path while he carried her. Rain stopping when she voluntarily entered the cottage. Until now, rain had accompanied fear. Hunting. Pain. Escape. But another memory existed. Arin sitting several steps away with empty hands. Promising to stop if she asked. A safe hand in the rain. Mira lifted her head. She was no longer trying to prove that she was strong. She simply wanted the thirsty land beside her to feel what she had felt. Safe. Mira touched one horn to the silver tree. The tiny blue bud opened. Clouds appeared above the sanctuary. Not one cloud. Dozens. Soft white shapes spiraled from Mira's mist and gathered between the silver branches. The sanctuary boundary rose as a dome of pale light. Arin felt the restored route beneath the ground. Clean water moved through it. The land recognized Mira. Mira recognized the land. Neither commanded the other. They answered together. The first drop fell upon Arin's hand. It shone silver blue. A second landed upon Mira's fur. Then the sky opened. Rain poured over the 18-meter sanctuary. It did not fall beyond the boundary. Outside, Whisperwood remained beneath a clear evening sky. Inside, warm luminous rain covered the cottage, garden, well and silver tree. Mira stood beneath it with her face raised. Her white fur glowed. Her cloud-shaped tail moved through the rain like living mist. For one heartbeat, an immense shadow appeared above her. A celestial feline formed from white clouds, crowned with long blue horns. Then it vanished. Mira remained small, injured, exhausted, and smiling. Arin had not known her face could make that expression. The dewbird leapt into the rain. Its 6 feet struck the grass in a joyful, uneven dance. The 4-petal ears opened wide, and its crystal feelers filled with shining water. The dry garden changed. Clearbell clover unfolded across the purified soil. Blue flowers opened beside the cottage. Dust washed from the moonkeeper's well. Water ran along ancient grooves carved around its rim, though the 5 sealed crescents remained closed. The damaged roof immediately began leaking in 7 different places. Arin looked through the cottage window. We still need to repair that. Mira sent a splash of mist into his face. Arin wiped water from his eyes. That was unnecessary. Another splash struck him. The dewbird chimed. Arin began laughing. The sound surprised him. He could not remember the last time he had laughed without fear waiting behind it. Rain ran through his hair. It softened the dried blood upon his tunic and cooled the pain in his shoulder. It did not heal everything. But for the first time since Derek cut the rope, Arin felt alive rather than merely unfinished. The sanctuary record appeared within the rain. First divine rain recorded. Source: Mira and the Silver Sanctuary Route. Nature: voluntary resonance. Duration: limited. Ability status: unstable. Cannot be commanded, cannot currently be repeated safely. Effects: minor land purification, minor corruption reduction, moisture restoration, dormant root stimulation, emotional recovery. A second panel followed. Soul Sanctuary, Stage 1. Safe radius, 18 meters, land purification, 1.6% 2.4% boundary stability, 58% 66%. Moonkeeper's Well. Partially awakened, ancient channels restored, 2 of 7 daily capacity unchanged. Silver Sanctuary Tree. Critically dormant first seasonal response detected. Mira swayed. Arin caught her against his chest. This time, she did not protest. The rain began weakening. Its final drops settled across the sanctuary like tiny stars. Mira. Physical condition: injured, stable, severely exhausted. Corruption level, 9% 7%. Trust level, 23% 31%. Bloodline: unreadable. Additional classification detected. Divine signature, dormant. Recommendation: immediate rest. Mira looked away from the recommendation. Arin carried her toward the cottage. No arguments. Her ears flattened. That was a medical statement, not a command. Mira rested her head against his shoulder. The distinction appeared acceptable. The dewbird left the sanctuary the next morning. Its foot no longer carried black veins. Moisture filled both crystal feelers, and its moss fur had regained a healthy green-gold color. Arin placed several clearbell clover leaves near the boundary. Take these. The dewbird ate them immediately. You could save one for later. Its mouth opened. The final leaf disappeared. Mira watched from the cottage doorway. She did not appear jealous now. Only proud. The dewbird approached her. It lowered its 4-petal ears and pressed its forehead gently beneath Mira's chin. Mira became perfectly still. Then she touched one paw to its head. The dewbird chimed. It crossed the sanctuary boundary willingly. No barrier stopped it. No bond pulled it back. It disappeared between the bright forest leaves. The sanctuary record opened. Temporary guest departed safely. Sanctuary bond established, no authority established, no creature ownership, none. Shelter completed successfully. A sanctuary protects without possessing. Arin read the final sentence aloud. Mira sat beside him. That should be written above the door. Mira looked at the broken cottage in trance. The fallen beam still blocked half of it. After we repair the door. They turned toward the silver tree. Its trunk remained split. Most branches were still bare. It was far from restored. But at the end of its lowest branch, something moved in the morning light. A small leaf slowly unfolded. Its surface was silver. Its veins glowed pale blue. One clear drop of rain rested at its tip, reflecting Arin, Mira and the broken cottage beneath it. After years of silence, the silver tree had grown its first new leaf. Chapter 7, The First Room of Their Own. A drop of water landed directly between Arin's eyes. He opened them. Another drop fell. Then 3 more struck his forehead in rapid succession. Arin stared upward. Morning light passed through a new hole in the cottage roof. That was not there yesterday. A soft sound came from beside him. Mira lay upon the moonrust grass with her cloud-shaped tail curled around her body. Her turquoise eyes were open, and her expression contained absolutely no sympathy. You caused the rain. Mira closed her eyes. I am not blaming you. One ear turned away from him. I am blaming the roof. A heavy drip landed inside the clay bowl near the stove. The bowl was already half full. Arin pushed himself upright. Pain immediately traveled through his right ankle. The joint remained tightly wrapped with cloth and rope, and although the swelling had reduced slightly, he could not place his full weight upon it. His left shoulder still resisted sudden movement. The thorn laceration across his upper back had stopped bleeding, but the damaged skin pulled whenever he bent forward. Mira's injuries remained visible as well. A clean pale bandage covered her hind leg. Her white fur had regained much of its brightness after the divine rain, but she still limped, and exhaustion had dulled the glow around her 2 sky-blue horns. Neither of them should have been repairing a house. The cottage disagreed. A deep wooden creak passed through the ceiling. Arin froze. Mira's eyes opened again. A line of dust fell from the western beam. Arin grabbed the edge of the blanket. Mira. She was already moving. He pulled the moonrust grass away from the wall while Mira caught the folded blanket between her teeth. They dragged the resting corner across the floor just as a section of wet ceiling plaster collapsed where Mira had been sleeping. It struck the floor with a heavy crash. Dust spread through the room. Mira released the blanket and stared at the ruined corner. Arin rested both hands on his walking branch. The sanctuary survived corrupted roots, a sealed well and divine rain. Another piece of plaster fell. The cottage may be the strongest enemy we have faced. Mira sneezed. A ring of mist blasted dust into Arin's face. He wiped his eyes. You could have aimed toward the window. Mira examined one paw. The sanctuary record appeared over the damaged room. Soul Sanctuary, Stage 1. Safe radius, 18 meters. Land purification, 2.4% boundary stability, 66%. Active facilities. Sheltered resting corner, displaced moonkeeper's well, partially awakened ancient water channels, 2 of 7 silver sanctuary tree, dormant habitable cottage rooms, 0. Warning. The western roof section absorbed more water than its damaged supports could safely hold. Structural collapse risk. Moderate and increasing. Arin focused on the final line. Habitable rooms, 0. Mira looked toward the blanket on the floor. I thought we had won. The record changed. A resting corner is not a room. A home requires continued protection from weather, structural danger and environmental exposure. The sanctuary has become very particular. The ceiling creaked again. A new mission appeared. Sanctuary mission. A roof before the next rain. Create one structurally safe, weather-resistant room. Requirements. Inspect the western roof, remove unstable debris, reinforce one damaged support, cover the major roof opening, restore the resting corner beneath secure shelter. Restrictions. Do not use corrupted wood, do not damage an occupied creature nest, do not worsen the keeper's injuries, do not force companion assistance. Reward. First habitable room, minor cottage stabilization. Failure consequence. The sanctuary does not punish failed effort. However, the roof may still fall. Arin read the last sentence twice. That is less comforting than the usual message. Mira rose from the bedding. Her damaged leg remained raised slightly above the floor. No. She looked at him. You are not climbing onto the roof. Mira walked toward the doorway. Mira. She continued outside. Arin reached for the branch. So this is how my medical advice feels. The divine rain had transformed the sanctuary clearing. Water beads shone upon clearbell clover around the cottage. Small blue flowers opened between the stones, and clean rainwater remained inside shallow depressions throughout the purified soil. The silver tree still appeared mostly dead. Its trunk remained split. Its upper branches were bare. Yet the single new silver leaf at the end of its lowest branch reflected the sunlight like polished metal. A clear drop rested upon its tip. Mira stopped beneath it. The leaf released the droplet. It landed between her horns. Mira looked upward. The branch did not move again. Arin joined her slowly. The tree likes you. Mira's tail lifted. That was not permission to create another storm. Her tail lowered. Arin examined the cottage from outside. Nearly half of the eastern roof had collapsed years ago. The western side remained covered with dark wooden shingles, but many were cracked or missing. The divine rain had exposed every weakness at once. One supporting beam had begun bending above the room they used. Repairing the entire roof was impossible. Creating one safe room might not be. Arin walked around the wall, using his branch to test each step. The damaged barn stood near the northern edge of the sanctuary. Its roof had completely collapsed, but part of one wall remained upright. The old creature shelter beside it had fared slightly better. Several roof panels lay across the grass, protected beneath thick vines. Arin approached them. Mira reached the shelter first. She sniffed beneath one panel. Her ears lifted. What did you find? A faint scratching sound came from under the wood. Arin crouched carefully. When he raised the edge with his branch, 6 tiny creatures stared back at him. Each had a round seed-shaped body covered in pale violet fuzz. 4 thin legs ended in curled toes that gripped the wood. Their faces were hidden behind overlapping leaf plates, and a small glowing thread extended from the back of each creature to a nest woven from dry grass. One of them made a sound like 2 pebbles tapping together. The others repeated it. Mira leaned closer. All 6 creatures pulled their leaf plates shut. They are afraid of you. Mira stared at Arin. Yes, I remember what I said about the dewbird. He lowered the roof panel. The sanctuary record identified the nest. Thimble leaf cluster. Small communal forest creatures. Behavior. Nest beneath dry timber, consume mold and harmful wood insects, avoid conflict. Flee when exposed to strong wind or fire. Current status. Temporary natural residence, no sanctuary bond, no assistance requested. Important. Removing this roof panel would destroy the occupied nest. Arin looked at the usable wood. Then at the damaged cottage. That panel would have covered most of the hole. Mira placed one paw beside the hidden nest. Arin nodded. We are not taking it. The sanctuary record gave no reward. No light appeared. The roof remained broken. The decision simply made their repair more difficult. Arin searched the rest of the collapsed shelter. 2 other panels had rotted through. A third contained black stains. Corruption sense revealed thin dormant fibers beneath the surface. He marked it with a circle scratched into the wood. Do not touch that one. Mira immediately touched the edge with one claw. Arin stared. Mira withdrew her paw. I meant what I said. Her expression suggested that she had only been testing his certainty. Behind the damaged barn, they found 4 narrow moonbark shingles stacked beneath a fallen stone ledge. The silvery brown wood was light but tough. Rain had not reached it. Arin lifted the first shingle. His injured shoulder objected. Mira pushed her head beneath the other end. No. She pushed harder. You are supposed to rest. Mira looked toward his ankle. That is unrelated. Her eyes narrowed. Arin adjusted his grip. We carry it together. The shingle moved easily between them. Mira's posture became extremely proud. They transported the 4 shingles to the cottage one at a time. Arin did not hurry. Every trip ended with a short rest beneath the silver tree. Mira pretended that the pauses were for his benefit. On the 3rd journey, Arin noticed that she was placing more weight on her injured leg than before. Does it hurt less? Mira paused. A faint impression traveled through the sanctuary bond. Pain remained. But it was smaller. Arin smiled. That is good. Mira immediately resumed walking, as though she had revealed too much. The available shingles could cover the largest opening above the western room. They could not support themselves. The damaged beam had to be reinforced first. Inside the barn, Arin found an old wooden support frame beneath fallen high racks. The mere posts had rotted, but one straight crossbeam remained sound. It was longer than Arin was tall. He tried to lift one end. The beam moved less than a finger's width. The sanctuary record appeared. Keeper condition unsuitable for heavy lifting. Recommended methods. Leverage pulley support, multiple helpers, delayed repair after recovery. Arin studied the fallen barn. An old rope pulley still hung from an overhead frame. The rope itself had decayed. The maintenance chamber beneath the cottage contained a stronger coil. He could build a simple lifting system. Mira placed both front paws against the beam. She pushed. Nothing happened. Arin looked away before she noticed his smile. I appreciate the demonstration. Mira pushed harder. The beam remained completely unmoved. You have proven that the record is correct. A burst of mist struck the beam. It rolled several centimeters. Mira lifted her chin. Arin stared at the new position. That was useful. Her tail rose. You are still not carrying it alone. Her tail lowered slightly. The work took most of the morning. Arin retrieved the maintenance rope from beneath the cottage. He secured the pulley to the strongest surviving barn post and created a dragging loop around the crossbeam. The first attempt failed because the knot slipped. The beam rolled back into the high. Mira jumped away with an offended hiss. Arin retied it. The second attempt lifted one end but pulled the pulley sideways. The old post cracked. Arin released the rope before the frame collapsed. Mira watched him from a safe distance. I knew that might happen. The sanctuary bond carried immediate disbelief. I considered that it might happen. More disbelief. Arin moved the pulley to a stone-supported section of the barn wall. The third attempt worked. He pulled while Mira released controlled mist beneath the beam, reducing its friction against the floor. They moved it slowly. Not through strength. Through patience, leverage and repeated adjustment. When the crossbeam finally reached the cottage, Arin lowered himself onto the grass. His palms were raw. His ankle pulsed beneath the wrapping. Mira lay beside the beam, breathing heavily. That was enough work for today. A deep crack sounded from inside the cottage. They both looked toward the western room. The ceiling lowered another fraction. Arin pushed himself upright. Apparently, the roof disagrees. The crossbeam was too long to fit beneath the damaged support. Arin measured it using the old maintenance rope. He marked the extra length with charcoal from the stove. The stable knife could cut rope on thin branches, not a beam. The maintenance chamber had contained no saw. Arin searched the cottage tool hooks again. Behind the weathered cloak, he discovered a narrow blade with jagged stone teeth. The handle had cracked, but leather wrapping kept it together. The sanctuary record identified it as a moonkeeper's hand saw. It would have been helpful if the record had mentioned this earlier. Mira sat beside the tool wall. You did not find it either. She looked away. Arin spent nearly an hour cutting the beam. His shoulder forced him to stop repeatedly. Mira rested beside his injured ankle during every pause. When he finally separated the extra section, neither of them celebrated. They were too tired. The shortened beam fit beneath the western support. Using a smaller fallen post as a lever, Arin raised the damaged ceiling beam just enough to slide the reinforcement beneath it. The new post settled unevenly. Mira tapped its left side. It is straight. She tapped it again. Arin examined the base. One stone beneath it was slightly higher. He adjusted the support. The beam became level. Arin looked at Mira. You are enjoying this. She sat down with perfect innocence. Covering the roof opening created a different problem. Arin could not climb. Mira could climb, but her leg could not safely support her on wet shingles. They stood outside, staring upward. We could repair it from inside. Mira followed his gaze. The broken ceiling exposed the underside of the roof. Arin placed the old table beneath the opening. It wobbled. He added flat stones beneath two legs. Then he positioned a chair on top of the table. The chair leaned dangerously. Mira stared at the structure. Arin stared with her. No. He removed the chair. Instead, he tied the shingles together into a single overlapping panel. Using the pulley rope, he passed one end through the roof opening and around a surviving rafter. From the floor, he could lift the panel into place. The first attempt turned it sideways. Rainwater trapped in the roof poured over Arin. Mira jumped back. Arin stood beneath the stream, soaked from head to boots. Mira made the quiet sound that she used when pretending not to laugh. You are the one who controls water. She cleaned one paw. The second attempt lifted the panel correctly. Arin secured the rope around the reinforced support while Mira used short bursts of mist to guide the upper edge into alignment. The panel covered the largest hole. Thin gaps remained around it. Arin filled them with preserved sealweb moss from the underground chamber, using only a small portion of the patch. The moss expanded when dampened with clean well water. Silver-blue fibers spread between the shingles. The roof opening sealed. No magic replaced the missing eastern roof. No light rebuilt the walls. But the western room became darker. Drier. Safer. Arin waited. A single droplet formed above the resting corner. It swelled. Then traveled sideways along the new shingle panel and disappeared outside. Mira watched it. Arin smiled. The rain stayed out. A silver glow moved through the reinforced beam. Mission progress. Western roof inspected, complete unstable debris removed, complete support reinforced, complete major opening covered, complete resting corner restored, incomplete. We still need to move the bed. Mira was already dragging the blanket. They cleaned the western room again. The collapsed plaster went outside into a separate pile. Arin checked every remaining ceiling section with his walking branch. Mira inspected the walls, floor and repaired support. The thimble-leaf cluster emerged from the shelter near sunset. The 6 tiny creatures crossed the grass in a line, glowing threads trailing from their backs. They entered the cottage through the damaged window. Arin watched them climb the western wall. The creatures opened their leaf-covered faces and began eating mold from the damp wood. Mira sat beneath them. One thimble leaf dropped a tiny piece of moss onto her head. Mira became completely still. The other 5 closed their leaf plates. Arin turned away before his expression betrayed him. The mist burst came a moment later. All 6 creatures scattered across the wall. None fell. Mira looked toward Arin. I saw nothing. She returned to supervising. Arin spread the moonrust grass beside the stove and covered it with the repaired blanket. He placed a dry board along the wall to prevent cold air from reaching the bedding. Beside it, he arranged the copper bowl, the maintenance cloak and the small creature care supplies they had collected. It was still one corner. Still one room. Yet it no longer felt temporary. Mira stepped onto the bedding. She turned once. Then she walked back to the doorway. Arin looked at her. Something is wrong. Mira caught the edge of the maintenance cloak in her teeth. She dragged it toward the bed. Arin understood. That was for my back. Mira continued pulling. He helped spread the cloak beside the moonrust grass. The resting area became wide enough for both of them. Mira walked to the center and lay down. Her cloud-shaped tail rested across the empty half. Arin remained standing. You want me to sleep there? Mira closed her eyes. The sanctuary bond carried no command. Only an invitation. Arin lowered himself beside the bed. He rested his injured leg upon the folded cloak. Mira's tail moved over his ankle. The sanctuary record glowed throughout the room. Mission complete. A roof before the next rain. One structurally safe, weather-resistant cottage room has been completed through repair, salvage and voluntary cooperation. New facility. First habitable room. Effects. Protection from ordinary rain, improved nighttime recovery, safer storage for basic supplies, reduced structural deterioration in the western cottage section. Cottage stabilization. 9% 18%. Boundary stability. 66% 69%. Land purification. Unchanged. The sanctuary does not create a home in place of effort. It remembers the effort that created one. Silver light passed through the room. The repaired beam strengthened. The sealweb moss settled firmly between the shingles. Warmth remained near the stove even though no active fire burned inside it. The cottage did not become new. The walls remained cracked. The eastern roof remained open to the sky. But the western room had become theirs. The sanctuary record displayed another panel. Stage 2 Requirement Preview. Forest Haven. Required progress. Habitable cottage rooms, 1 of 2 reliable clean water source, incomplete basic food production, incomplete creature residence, 1 bonded, 0 permanent guests, basic sanctuary barrier, incomplete restored land, insufficient. No advancement available. Continue building carefully. Arin studied the requirements. 1 room completed. Mira opened one eye. Only 5 major problems remain. The eye closed again. That was meant to sound optimistic. The evening should have been peaceful. Then Arin's stomach growled. Mira's ears lifted. Arin placed one hand over his abdomen. We repaired a roof before finding lunch. Mira stood immediately. The clearbell clover growing near the silver tree was safe for small forest grazers, but it could not provide enough nourishment for Arin. The well supplied water. The sanctuary supplied shelter. Food remained their most urgent weakness. They searched the overgrown garden before the light disappeared. Most plants were weeds or dead vines. Near the purified silver root, Arin found 3 pale orange bulbs pushing through the softened soil. Each was covered in spiral ridges and gave off a faint warm scent. Cincoil root. Edible forest tuber. Properties. High energy. Safe raw in small amounts, improved flavor after cooking, naturally grows near purified earth mana. Current condition. Immature. Harvest recommendation. Wait 3 to 5 days. Arin stared at the 3 small roots. Mira stared as well. We could eat one. The sanctuary record remained silent. If we take it now, we lose part of the future crop. Mira lowered her head and sniffed. Her stomach produced a small sound. Arin looked away to preserve her dignity. We wait. Mira sat beside the immature roots. A faint pulse of agreement entered the bond. They returned to the cottage with only clean water. Arin drank one portion. Mira drank another. Hunger remained. But hunger inside a dry room felt different from hunger beneath hostile roots. It was a problem they could solve tomorrow. Night settled across Whisperwood. The single silver leaf glowed beneath the moon. The timberleaf creatures slept inside cracks along the western wall. Mira rested beside Arin, her breathing slow and even. Arin almost fell asleep. Then the ground moved. Not violently. A soft rolling vibration passed beneath the cottage. The copper bowl trembled. Mira raised her head. Another vibration came from beyond the southern boundary. Something heavy was walking through the forest. Arin reached for the branch. He stepped outside, keeping his weight off the injured ankle. Mira followed. Moonlight revealed the wildflowers along the sanctuary edge. Beyond them, black roots shifted aside. A rounded shadow moved between the ancient trees. It was low to the ground but wider than the cottage doorway. Small golden flowers glowed across its back. Moss hung from its sides. Several pale mushrooms trembled with every step. Arin sensed exhaustion. Hunger. Stubborn determination. And behind those emotions, fear. The creature stopped beyond the boundary. Its shape resembled a powerful boar only in the broadest sense. Its body was almost perfectly round, with 6 short earth-colored legs, a flat stone-like snout and 2 curling root horns emerging beside its cheeks. A broken vine harness surrounded its body. It dragged a heavy bundle of uprooted plants. Several cincoil roots rolled from the bundle. Mira's tail expanded. The creature looked at her. Then at Arin. A deep grunt shook flowers from its mossy back. Something answered from deeper within Whisperwood. Not one sound. Many. Red lights appeared between the trees. The rounded creature shoved the bundle of edible roots across the sanctuary boundary. Then it turned to face the forest. Black thorns were embedded across its back beneath the flowers. Arin's beast empathy filled with one clear intention. It had not brought the food for itself. It had brought the roots somewhere safe before the things following it could destroy them. The sanctuary record appeared. Unknown earth-aligned creature detected. Condition. Injured, exhausted, protective, refusing to retreat. Warning. Multiple corrupted creatures approaching. Temporary shelter has not been requested. Arin stepped toward the wildflowers. Mira. She moved beside him. The round creature lowered its root horns toward the growing red lights. It stood alone between the sanctuary and the corrupted forest. Arin opened one empty hand. You saved the food. The creature's moss-covered ears turned toward him. You don't have to fight alone. The sanctuary boundary shimmered. The creature looked at the open path. For one moment, Arin thought it would enter. Instead, it struck one heavy foot against the ground. Roots rose behind it, forming a wall between the sanctuary and the approaching red lights. The effort drove the black thorns deeper into its back. The creature grunted in pain. Arin's expression hardened. It was stubborn. Injured. Protecting something while pretending it needed no help. Arin had met that kind of creature before. He looked down at Mira. Mira looked up at him. Neither needed the bond to understand. Their first room was complete. Now something outside it needed a home. Chapter 8. the garden he carried. Red lights multiplied between the trees. 3. 5. Then 7. They moved low to the ground, weaving between black roots as the sound of heavy feet rolled through Whisperwood. The round, flower-backed creature stood outside the sanctuary with its 6 legs spread wide. Roots rose from the earth behind it, twisting together into a rough wall. The effort shook its entire body. Black thorns buried beneath the moss across its back sank deeper into its flesh. Arin felt the pain through beast empathy. He also felt the creature's refusal to acknowledge it. "You are already injured," Arin said. The creature struck one stone-like front foot against the ground. The root wall thickened. "That does not make the injury disappear." A deep grunt answered him. Mira stood at Arin's side, white fur raised and turquoise eyes fixed upon the forest. The sanctuary boundary shimmered among the wildflowers. It could recognize peaceful creatures requesting shelter. It could slow the black root. It could not yet stop a determined assault. The sanctuary record appeared. Approaching threat detected. Creatures. Corrupted root boars, 7. Condition. Severe behavioral distortion, black root penetration, heightened aggression, shared herd response. Objective detected. Recovered syncoil roots, unknown earth-aligned creature, purified sanctuary soil. Boundary stability. 69%. Estimated resistance under direct assault. Insufficient. The first corrupted creature emerged into the moonlight. It belonged to the same broad family as the stranger, but corruption had twisted its natural shape. 6 narrow legs supported a bark-armored body. Black vines wrapped around its stone snout, forming hooked tusks that leaked dark sap. The moss upon its back had withered into sharp bristles. Empty red light burned behind layered leaf plates where its eyes should have been. A second root boar followed. Then the rest of the herd entered the clearing beyond the boundary. The flower-backed stranger lowered its root horns. Arin understood. It knew them. The emotion came through beast empathy as a broken sequence. Shared soil. Warm rain. Digging rose beneath golden trees. Young creatures sleeping among flowers. Then black roots entering the grove. Hunger becoming rage. Familiar scents turning hostile. The stranger had not merely been chased by corrupted monsters. It had been chased by its own herd. The largest root boar released a roar. The sound resembled stone grinding beneath the earth. The corrupted herd charged. Inside, Arin shouted. The flower-backed creature remained where it was. Its root wall surged upward. The first root boar struck it. The impact shook the sanctuary clearing. Soil exploded into the air. Cracks spread through the wall, but it held. The second creature crashed beside the first. The wall bent inward. The stranger's 6 legs slid across the ground. Arin stepped toward the boundary. Mira moved in front of him. "I know." She stared at his wrapped ankle. "I also know I should not run, fight, climb or carry anything heavy." Another impact struck the root wall. The flower-backed creature grunted in pain. "But it will not enter while it believes it has to protect us." Mira looked from Arin to the creature outside. Her cloud-shaped tail lashed once. Then mist began gathering around her paws. Arin rested one hand upon her back. "Only enough to hide us." Mira glanced at him. "No storm." Her ears flattened. That was not a challenge. White mist flowed across the sanctuary boundary. It spread around the root wall and concealed the flower-backed stranger from the corrupted herd. The attackers slowed. Their red eyes searched through the vapor. Arin crossed the wildflowers. The moment his injured foot touched corrupted soil, the sanctuary's warmth weakened. Pain returned sharply to his ankle and shoulder. The connection to the land became thin. The record warned him immediately. Keeper has left sanctuary territory. Abilities operating at reduced effectiveness. Physical condition unsuitable for exposure. "I noticed." Mira crossed behind him. Her mist remained connected to the sanctuary, but it thinned around her body. The stranger sensed them approaching. It turned its stone snout toward Arin. A warning vibration passed through the ground. "I'm not here to move the roots." The creature stamped once. "I'm not here to take the food either." Another stamp. Arin stopped several steps away. "You brought the bundle somewhere safe." Behind the boundary, the uprooted syncoil roots lay scattered across purified grass. "They are already inside." The stranger glanced toward them. A corrupted root boar emerged through the mist and struck the wall. The flower-backed creature lurched. One of its rear legs folded. It forced itself upright again. Arin recognized that kind of stubbornness. It was the same reason he had continued walking through the ravine with an injured ankle. The same reason Mira had tried to call rain while barely able to stand. "You finished what you came here to do," Arin said. The creature lowered its horns toward the forest. "No, you are trying to do more because stopping feels like failure." The stranger's moss-covered ears turned toward him. Arin opened one empty hand. "You don't have to earn safety by bleeding for it." The ground trembled. The largest corrupted root ball broke through the damaged wall. It charged directly toward Arin. Mira vanished. A trail of cloud-shaped paw prints crossed the earth. She struck Arin's chest with all four paws. Cloud Step pulled them sideways. The corrupted root ball passed close enough for one black tusk to tear the sleeve of Arin's tunic. Arin and Mira reappeared beside the boundary. His ankle collapsed beneath him. Mira rolled across the grass but immediately regained her feet. The attacking root ball turned. The flower-backed stranger struck it from the side. Its round body moved with surprising force. Root horns met black bark. The impact sent both creatures sliding through the soil. The stranger did not try to gore its corrupted attacker. It pushed the creature away from Arin. Even now, it was holding back. The corrupted root ball did not. A hooked tusk tore through the moss upon the stranger's shoulder. Golden flowers scattered across the ground. A deep cry entered Arin's mind. He pushed himself upright with the walking branch. Mira, the boundary. She understood. Mist withdrew from the forest and gathered along the wildflowers. The sanctuary line became visible as a thin arc of silver light. Arin raised the branch and struck it against a stone. The sound drew the corrupted creature's attention. "Here!" The root ball charged him. Arin remained just inside the boundary. The distance closed. 10 meters. 5. 2. Arin threw himself sideways. The corrupted root ball crossed the silver line with violence rather than consent. The sanctuary rejected it. Silver branches flashed around its body. The creature stopped as though it had struck an invisible wall. The protection lasted less than a second. Cracks spread across the light. But the interruption was enough. The flower-backed stranger drove its stone snout beneath the corrupted creature's side and pushed. The root ball fell back beyond the wildflowers. The boundary snapped closed. Emergency threshold resistance. Hostile entry delayed. Permanent barrier unavailable. Boundary stability. 69% 64%. Repeated impact may cause boundary failure. The remaining root balls gathered beyond the mist. They were no longer attacking the wall. They were preparing to strike together. Arin looked at the flower-backed creature. It could barely stand. Dark sap ran between the flowers on its back. The broken vine harness remained wrapped around its middle, cutting into swollen flesh. "Cross the boundary." The creature grunted. That was not a command. Arin stepped away from the opening. "The path is yours." The sanctuary light softened. An open section appeared among the wildflowers. The stranger looked toward the forest. The corrupted herd waited there. Its family. Its old home. Creatures it had been unable to save. Arin felt the guilt beneath its stubbornness. It believed that entering safety alone would be abandonment. The herd charged. Arin looked directly at the stranger. "You are not leaving them behind." The creature's ears lifted. "You cannot help them if the corruption kills you first." The largest corrupted root ball lowered its hooked tusks. The ground shook beneath the herd. "The food is safe." Arin extended his empty hand. "You can be safe too." The stranger looked at the offered path. Then at Mira. Mira stood inside the sanctuary, breathing hard after Cloud Step. Her injured hind leg trembled. She placed one paw beyond the wildflowers. "Not leaving." Showing the stranger where the threshold was. The herd reached the shattered root wall. The flower-backed creature turned. Its 6 legs moved. It crossed the boundary one heartbeat before the corrupted root ball struck. Silver light closed behind it. The herd slammed against the sanctuary. The clearing exploded with pale light. Arin was thrown backward. Mira disappeared beneath his arm as they struck the grass. The newly arrived creature fell beside the scattered cinquefoil roots. Wildflowers flattened around the entire sanctuary edge. Temporary shelter accepted. Unbonded creature entered voluntarily. Authority established, none ownership established, none sanctuary bond established, number. Boundary stability. 64% 57%. Critical pressure detected. The corrupted root balls struck again. Cracks of silver light spread above the clearing. The cottage walls trembled. Inside the western room, the timber leaf cluster fled into deeper cracks. Arin pressed one hand against the ground. The sanctuary roots beneath the clearing were frightened. The emotion was faint but unmistakable. The land remembered being invaded. Not again. Arin reached toward the copper bowl beside the silver tree. It still contained a small amount of well water. Mira understood before he spoke. She struck the bowl with one paw. Water spilled across the soil near the boundary. Turquoise mist carried the droplets outward. Where clean water touched the silver line, the wildflowers rose. Their roots intertwined beneath the earth. The sanctuary could not create a full barrier. But it could remember why the boundary existed. Shelter. Not war. Not imprisonment. A protected threshold. Arin placed both palms against the damp soil. Only hold them back. Silver light moved from the restored western channel beneath the cottage. It reached the tree. The single silver leaf shone. The boundary thickened around the southern edge. The corrupted herd struck for the third time. Instead of cracking, the silver light bent. The root balls were pushed backward into the forest. No thorns pierced them. No attack followed. The sanctuary simply refused entry. The effort drained the remaining strength from Arin's arms. Temporary sanctuary response. Shelter threshold. Triggered by voluntary refuge, immediate hostile pursuit, shared protective intent, clean water and restored root resonance. Effect. Southern boundary reinforced temporarily. Duration. Unstable. Warning. This is not a permanent barrier. The largest corrupted root ball rose outside the wildflowers. For one moment, its red eyes flickered. A trace of warm amber appeared beneath the corruption. The flower-backed stranger saw it. It released a low call. The sound contained no anger. Only grief. The corrupted creature hesitated. Then black fibers tightened around its face. The red light returned. It turned away. One by one, the herd disappeared into Whisperwood. The temporary threshold faded behind them. Boundary stability settled at 59%. The clearing became quiet. Arin remained on his knees. We survived. Mira sat beside him. Her fur had become damp with mist. The flower-backed creature tried to stand. Its legs failed. It struck the ground with its stone snout in frustration. You are allowed to fall after surviving. The creature tried again. Mira walked toward it. She placed one paw upon the stranger's root horn. Then she sat down. The round creature could not raise its head without lifting her. It stopped struggling. Arin stared. I have been explaining that for several days. Mira looked at him. One paw was apparently more effective. The sanctuary record examined the newcomer. Creature condition detected. Name, not offered species, bloomback root ball, elemental affinity. Earth growth. Physical condition. Severe exhaustion, multiple black root punctures, torn shoulder, moss, damaged vine harness, moderate dehydration, nutritional depletion. Corruption level. 11%. Emotional condition. Protective grieving. Distrustful of rest. Believes personal safety must be earned through labor. Sanctuary status. Temporary guest. Arin focused on the emotional assessment. That is very specific. The root ball grunted. It is also accurate. A louder grunt followed. Arin removed the stable knife and placed it on the grass where the creature could see it. The harness is cutting into you. The root ball tried to stand again. Mira pressed harder upon its horn. It stopped. I need to cut the vine. The creature's small moss-covered ears flattened. I will not remove anything else without permission. Arin touched the damaged harness lightly. A memory entered him. A bright grove filled with orderly rows of herbs and roots. Several bloomback root balls worked together beneath golden trees. They pulled woven baskets, loosened soil and carried water through shallow trenches. The harness had not been placed by a human. The root balls had made it themselves. It had been part of their work. Part of their pride. Then the black root entered the grove. Plants withered. Water darkened. The herd became violent. The flower-backed creature loaded every healthy root it could find into one final bundle. It had carried the surviving plants away while its family followed, corrupted and enraged. The harness was broken. But removing it felt like admitting the grove was gone. Arin withdrew his hand. I won't cut all of it. The creature watched him. only the section pressing into the wound. The root ball remained still. Permission. Arin cut through one twisted vine. The pressure around its body loosened. The creature released a breath so deep that mushrooms across its back shook. Mira jumped away before one fell onto her. Arin cleaned the punctures with heated well water. Most of the black thorns had broken off near the surface. He removed only those he could separate safely. Gentle touch reduced the pain, but his weakened mana could not purify everything. Treatment progress. Accessible black root fragments removed. Corruption level 11% 8%. Further treatment requires rest. Stable purified soil food. Gradual corruption separation. Food may be the easiest requirement. The root ball's eyes moved toward the bundle. Arin gathered the scattered sencoil roots. Some were mature. Others were still small enough to plant. He placed one mature root beside the guest. The root ball swallowed it whole. Arin looked at his empty hand. I should have expected that. The creature's stone snout moved toward the remaining roots. Those are for planting. It moved closer. Arin lifted the bundle. The root ball rose halfway despite its injuries. Mira stepped between it and the food. The newcomer stopped. Mira's tail expanded. The root ball stared at her. Mira stared back. Arin separated another mature root. This one can be eaten. The root ball swallowed it. The rest become future meals. The creature looked at the bundle again. Then at the overgrown garden. Its ears lifted. They should have rested. Instead, the bloomback root ball limped toward the garden. Every few steps, its legs shook. Arin followed with the bundle. You do not need to work tonight. The creature reached the edge of the purified soil. It lowered its stone snout and pushed aside dead vines. A shallow furrow appeared behind it. That is work. The root ball continued. Mira followed from the other side. She used one paw to move small stones from the row. Arin watched both injured creatures ignore his advice. I have lost control of the sanctuary. The record appeared. Correction. The keeper never possessed control of the residents. That was not what I meant. The root ball grunted. Mira's tail moved once. Arin suspected both of them were amused. He knelt beside the furrow. The root ball placed the smallest sencoil root into the earth. Then it pushed soil around it using its flat snout. Arin planted the second. Mira carefully pressed the ground around it with her front paws. Together, they planted the surviving roots. 2 pale herbs from the bundle remained. Their leaves curled like green spirals and a faint mint scent rose from them. The sanctuary record identified them as wound leaf. Useful for cleaning minor injuries once mature. Arin planted them beside the cottage wall where the repaired roof would direct rainwater toward the soil. The bloomback root ball watched every movement. When the final plant stood upright, a soft earthy pulse spread through the garden. Golden flowers opened across the creature's mossy back. Preserved plants successfully replanted. New facility registered. Survival garden plot. Current crops. Sencoil root 6 wound leaf 2. Clearbell clover natural growth. Food production. Insufficient. Medicinal production. Insufficient. Land purification. 2.4% 2.8%. Boundary stability. 59% 62%. The garden has survived. It has not yet become secure. The root ball lowered itself beside the new row. Not collapsing. Resting deliberately. Arin sat nearby. Mira chose the highest patch of moss upon the root ball's back and curled into it. The newcomer looked over one shoulder. Mira closed her eyes. The root ball released a questioning grunt. She has decided you are furniture. Mira's turquoise eye opened. Comfortable furniture. The eye closed. The root ball did not move again. For the first time since arriving, its breathing became slow. Arin leaned against the silver tree. You saved the plants. The creature's ears turned toward him. You saved part of your home. A quiet emotion reached Arin. Not acceptance of the sanctuary. Not yet. But the smallest release of grief. Arin did not ask for a bond. He did not ask the creature to remain. He simply sat beside the garden until the moon rose higher. Eventually, a name entered his awareness. It came voluntarily. Heavy earth beneath thorny vines. A sheltered place where living things could grow despite being difficult to cross. Bramble, Arin said. The root ball opened one warm golden eye. Is that your name? A low, satisfied grunt answered. The sanctuary record updated. Temporary guest identified. Name: Bramble. Species: Bloomback Rootbaugh. Sanctuary bond: not established. Trust level: 6%. Current intention: recover. Protect surviving crops. Observe the sanctuary. Observe as long as you need. Bramble's eye closed. Beyond the wildflowers, something moved between the trees. The largest corrupted rootbaugh stood in the darkness. Its hooked black tusks remained lowered. For one brief moment, the light behind its leaf-covered face changed from red to amber. It looked toward Bramble, then toward the newly planted garden. The black root tightened around its body. The amber light disappeared. The creature turned and vanished into Whisperwood. Bramble had reached safety. But part of his family was still outside. Chapter 9: The Garden That Refused to Die. Bramble was missing. Arin noticed because the moss-covered creature was much too large to disappear quietly. The place beside the silver tree where Bramble had fallen asleep was empty. Moonrust grass lay flattened beneath the morning dew, and several pale mushrooms had been left behind like abandoned pillows. Mira stood upon the cottage threshold. Her turquoise eyes followed a trail of disturbed soil toward the garden. Arin tightened his grip on the walking branch. He was supposed to rest. Mira looked pointedly at Arin's wrapped ankle. That is different. Her ears tilted. It is not completely different. They followed the trail. Bramble stood in the survival garden plot with his 6 legs planted around the first row of cincoil roots. His torn shoulder moss had been cleaned, and most of the black root thorns had been removed the previous night. Even so, dark punctures remained beneath the golden flowers across his back. His body trembled with exhaustion. He was digging. Bramble pushed his flat stone-like snout beneath the soil and carved a shallow trench around the planted roots. Each movement reopened the damaged skin beneath his moss. Stop. Bramble continued digging. Arin limped closer. You are bleeding again. A deep grunt vibrated through the garden. I can see that you believe the plants need a trench. Bramble shoved another line through the earth. I am not disagreeing with the trench. The bloomback rootbaugh finally looked at him. Warm golden eyes narrowed beneath moss-covered ears. I am disagreeing with your tearing open your wounds to make it. Bramble struck one foot against the ground. A faint earthy pulse moved through the soil. The newly planted cincoil leaves drooped. The dark earth around them had already begun drying. The divine rain had restored moisture to the sanctuary, but the shallow garden soil could not hold it for long. The moonkeeper's well provided only a few bowls each day. Enough for drinking and wound cleaning. Not enough for 8 young crops. The sanctuary record appeared. Survival garden plot. Cincoil root, 6 planted wound leaf, 2 planted clearbell clover, natural growth. Current condition. Transplant shock uneven moisture limited purified soil root development unstable. Estimated survival without additional water. Cincoil root, 4 of 6 wound leaf, 1 of 2. Food production. Insufficient. Bramble looked at the wilting plants. Pain entered Arin through beast empathy. Not physical pain. The memory of another garden dying. A grove where water had turned black. Rows collapsing while Bramble tried to carry every surviving plant alone. Arin lowered his voice. This is not your old grove. Bramble's ears flattened. That does not mean these plants matter less. A quiet grunt answered. I know. Arin placed his hand upon the earth beside the first cincoil root. The soil was already warm beneath the morning sunlight. We need a way to water them without emptying the well. Mira approached the garden. She sniffed the shallow trench, then raised her head toward the cottage. Her horns glowed faintly. Rain scents passed through the sanctuary bond. Arin felt clean water moving beneath the ground. 2 restored channels. The first carried water through the silver root. The second supplied the emergency path to the well. A third current existed nearby. Weak. Blocked. It traveled directly beneath the garden. There is another channel. Bramble became still. Mira walked between the rows, following the hidden water. She stopped beside a flat stone buried beneath dead vines. Bramble pushed his snout beneath it. The stone shifted. Arin placed his branch beneath the opposite edge. Together. Bramble glanced at him. Without reopening your shoulder. A displeased vibration passed through the soil. Arin leaned against the branch. I am not questioning your strength. I am questioning the wisdom of using all of it while injured. Mira pressed both front paws against the stone. Her contribution did not noticeably move it. She looked at Arin. Yes, together. They lifted. The flat stone rose slowly, revealing a narrow hollow underneath. A circular clay opening had been built into the garden soil. Its surface was carved with curling roots, crescent-shaped rain marks and tiny images of creatures planting seeds. The opening was packed with hardened mud. A silver symbol flashed across it. Dormant facility detected. Garden feeder channel. Purpose: carry controlled water from the Moonkeeper network into cultivation soil. Status: blocked. Gate closed. Internal corruption, low but present connection, ancient channel 3. Restoration risk: uncontrolled opening may flood unstable soil or carry residual contamination into the garden. Arin looked toward the cottage. The control mechanism will be underground. Mira was already walking toward the hidden hatch. Bramble followed. No. Both creatures stopped. Arin pointed at Bramble. You need treatment. Bramble grunted. Arin pointed at Mira. You used Cloud Step and reinforced the boundary last night. Mira's tail expanded. You both need rest. Mira and Bramble looked at each other. Then both continued toward the cottage. Arin closed his eyes. I understand why the sanctuary record corrected me when I said I had lost control. The hidden water chamber felt colder than before. Pale blue light traveled through two active stone channels and gathered inside the central basin. The repaired sealweb moss still held the crack closed. 5 round stone gates remained sealed. Mira descended carefully, favoring her bandaged leg. Bramble could not fit through the narrow hatch. He remained above, his broad body almost completely covering the opening. Only his stone snout and 2 curled root horns were visible from below. You were right, Arin said. Bramble grunted. That was not praise for ignoring me. The third gate stood beneath a carving of an open flower. Unlike the corrupted northern gate, its stone remained mostly clean. The problem lay inside the narrow feeder passage. Roots, mud and small stones had collected behind it. A thin black film covered the lowest section. Arin touched the gate. Corruption sense entered the channel. The darkness inside was weak. It had not taken control of the water. It had settled inside the blockage, feeding on stagnant moisture. If we open this now, everything behind it enters the garden. Mira placed one paw against the channel. Rain sense gave Arin a clearer image. Clean water waited beyond the mud. Not much, but enough to create a slow daily flow. The gate could not be forced open safely. A small groove led from the wheel to a secondary stone lever on the wall. The lever was locked beneath dried roots. Arin tried to break one with his stable knife. The root bent without snapping. Mira created a thread of moisture. The dried fibers softened. Arin cut through them. The stone lever moved half a finger's width. Then stopped. A grinding sound traveled through the chamber. Bramble's face disappeared from the hatch. The flow above shifted. What are you doing? An earthy pulse moved through the wall. The mud behind the gate loosened. Bramble had sensed the blockage from above. He is digging around the channel, Arin said. Mira looked upward. I know he should be resting. Another pulse traveled through the stone. The lever moved farther. A line of dark water leaked beneath the closed gate. Arin immediately released it. Bramble, stop. The earth became still. The black water crawled across the chamber floor. It moved like a thin living stain, searching for the nearest clean channel. Mira hissed. Arin placed the copper maintenance bowl over it. The dark water struck the inside of the metal and produced a sharp sizzling sound. Residual garden channel contamination. Corruption concentration. 18%. Quantity. Small. Threat. Manageable if isolated. Dangerous if introduced directly to young crops. Recommended treatment. Natural filtration dilution with clean water purification through living root contact. Living root contact. Arin looked at the western channel. The pale silver root entered the chamber beside the basin. Its tiny blue bud had opened after the first purification, but the root itself remained thin. Using it to purify the contaminated water would place another burden on the dormant tree. Mira looked toward the bowl. Then toward the garden above. Bramble's stone snout returned to the hatch. His warm eyes fixed upon the dark water. A memory entered Arin. Bloomback root boars arranging layers of stone, moss and fibrous roots inside shallow garden trenches. Clean water entered one side. Clouded water emerged clear. They used filters in the old grove. Bramble gave a low grunt. Can you assure us? The root boar backed away from the hatch. A series of heavy steps crossed the floor above. Arin followed with Mira. Bramble had already begun collecting materials. He placed 3 piles beside the garden feeder channel. Smooth golden pebbles from the stream. Pale sealweb moss from a small patch near the cottage foundation. And thin brown fibers taken from the remains of his broken harness. Arin examined the harness fibers. These were used for irrigation. A quiet emotion passed from Bramble. Work. Shared responsibility. Pride. The harness had not only carried baskets. Its woven inner layers had been replaced regularly and reused inside the grove's water filters. Arin touched the remaining wine around Bramble's body. May we use part of it? Bramble looked toward the garden. Then lowered himself. Permission. Arin cut away another damaged section. He left the sound portions in place. Together, they built a shallow filter bed around the clay opening. Bramble shaped the earth with careful pushes of his flat snout. Arin arranged the golden stones at the bottom. Mira dampened the sealweb moss just enough to awaken its expanding fibers. The harness material formed the final layer. The timber leaf cluster emerged from the cottage wall. All 6 tiny creatures crossed the garden in a line. Their glowing threads trailed behind them. They gathered around the old harness fibers and began tapping the ground with their curled toes. What are they doing? One timber leaf opened its leaf-covered face and removed a tiny white grub from the weaving. It ate the creature immediately. The others began searching. Bramble watched them clean the filter material. Mira sat nearby with the expression of a supervisor who had personally organized the entire process. You did not invite them. Her tail moved once. Arin decided not to argue. When the filter was complete, the sanctuary record assessed it. Improvised living filter. Materials. Streamstone sealweb moss bloomback harness fiber purified soil. Assistance. Arin, voluntary Mira, voluntary Bramble, voluntary timber leaf cluster incidental. Estimated contamination reduction. Moderate. Warning. The filter cannot purify a heavily corrupted flow. Open the channel gradually. We still need to clear the blockage. Bramble moved toward the buried channel. Arin stepped in front of him. You may guide the soil. Bramble's ears lifted. You may not tear the entire passage open. A dissatisfied grunt. We are making space for the water, not proving which of us can move more earth. Mira looked toward Arin's ankle. Arin sighed. I will also work carefully. The agreement was imperfect. It was still an agreement. Arin returned to the underground lever. Mira remained beside the third gate. Bramble stood in the garden above, feeling the buried channel through all 6 feet. Slowly. Arin moved the lever. The stone gate opened a fraction. Clouded water entered the passage. The blockage shifted. Bramble sent a gentle earth pulse through the soil. Mud loosened without collapsing the channel walls. Mira followed the clean current with rain sense. A clear image entered Arin's mind. Left side. Bramble adjusted. A cluster of stones rolled into the underground chamber. Arin pulled them away with the maintenance rake. The water accelerated. Too quickly. The lever jerked from his hand. The third gate opened halfway. A surge of muddy water rushed into the feeder passage. Mira. Her mist struck the channel. The water slowed but did not stop. Above them, Bramble released a deep roar. The garden soil rose around the filter in a circular wall. Clouded water burst from the clay opening. It filled the improvised filter. Darkness spread through the sealweb moss. One young sencoil plant stood directly in the path of the overflow. Bramble threw his body between the water and the crop. Contaminated water struck the moss across his chest. Black fibers entered the torn punctures beneath his flowers. Pain flooded Arin's beast empathy. Close the gate. Arin pulled the lever. It refused to move. Mud had entered the mechanism. Mira pressed both front paws against the stone. Turquoise light moved through the wet grooves. Arin felt the direction of the clean current. The gate had not jammed because of pressure. A black root fiber had tightened around its lower hinge. Arin reached into the moving water. Cold corruption wrapped around his wrist. He found the fiber. It carried Bramble's fear. Not fear for himself. Fear that the garden would die because he had failed again. The fiber strengthened around that emotion. Bramble. The root ball remained between the overflow and the plants. His legs shook. You did not fail. The water rose around him. You brought these roots here alive. The black root tightened. You planted them. Mira's turquoise light joined Arin's hand. The garden is still here. Bramble looked toward the 6 young sun-coil plants. None had been washed away. The filter wall held. Arin separated the corruption from the stone hinge. You do not have to save it alone. The black fiber loosened. Arin pulled the lever. The gate closed to a narrow gap. The surge became a controlled stream. Bramble lowered the earthen wall slightly. Water passed through the living filter. Mud remained among the stones. Dark residue clung to the moss. A clear silver-blue trickle emerged from the opposite side. It entered the shallow trench Bramble had dug that morning. The water traveled between every young plant. The sun-coil leaves lifted. The 2 wound leaf spirals slowly opened. Bramble remained standing in the channel. Arin climbed from the hidden chamber as quickly as his injured ankle allowed. He reached the root ball and pressed one hand against the wet moss on his chest. New corruption had entered the open wounds. But the exposure had been brief. Gentle touch spread beneath Arin's fingers. The sanctuary soil answered. Mira placed one paw against Bramble's root horn. Clean water moved through the garden trench. The earth-aligned creature's own mana followed it. The invading fibers separated. Dark droplets emerged from the moss and fell into the filter, where the silver root resonance dissolved them. Garden feeder channel restored. Ancient channels restored. 2 of 7, 3 of 7. Water output. Slow controlled flow. Function. Basic garden irrigation. Daily well capacity. Unchanged. New facility. Root-fed garden channel. A second panel appeared. Bramble. Physical condition. Injured, stable exhaustion, severe new contamination removed. Corruption level. 8% 6%. Trust level. 6% 12%. Sanctuary status. Temporary guest. Sanctuary bond. Not established. Bramble looked at the flowing water. Then at Arin's hand upon his chest. He did not pull away. That was enough work, Arin said. Bramble grunted. Not a command. Another grunt. A request from someone who was also going to rest. Mira struck Arin's boot with her tail. He winced. Yes, immediately. The afternoon became quiet. The root-fed garden channel released only a thin stream. It took nearly an hour for the water to circle all 6 sun-coil roots. That was enough. The soil remained damp without becoming flooded. The living filter required cleaning. Arin removed the trapped mud and placed the contaminated moss near the purified silver root for slow treatment. Nothing was effortless. The channel needed monitoring. The filter would need replacement. The crop still required several days before harvest. But the garden no longer depended upon water carried one bowl at a time. Survival garden plot updated. Sun-coil root. 6 of 6 stabilizing. Wound leaf. 2 of 2 stabilizing. Basic irrigation. Established. Food production. Not yet available. Estimated first limited harvest. 3 to 4 days. Land purification. 2.8% 3.5%. Boundary stability. 62% 64%. Arin sat beneath the silver tree. His raw hands rested in his lap. Mira slept against his uninjured side. Bramble lay beside the garden, his enormous round body surrounding the planted rows like a living wall. The timberleaf cluster had built a temporary thread bridge between 2 of Bramble's root horns. 3 tiny creatures slept upon it. Bramble did not appear to know. Arin decided not to tell him. While cleaning the remaining broken harness, Arin discovered 3 hard seed pods woven beneath its inner layer. Each pod contained several pale gold kernels. The sanctuary record identified them as edible after heating. Bramble had carried them from the old grove. Arin placed the kernels in a clay dish near the stove. They opened with quiet pops. Mira woke at the first sound. Bramble's ears lifted at the second. Arin divided the roasted kernels into 3 portions. Mira examined hers. Bramble swallowed his entire portion at once. Arin looked at the empty grass. You could have waited until everyone started. Bramble grunted. Mira delicately ate 1 kernel. Then she reached toward Arin's portion. He moved the dish away. Your example is not much better. For the first time since Bramble entered the sanctuary, a warm earthy emotion moved through Beast's empathy. Not grief. Not duty. Amusement. It was small. But it belonged in the garden. At sunset, the largest corrupted rootball returned. It stood alone beyond the southern wildflowers. Red light burned behind its leaf-covered face, but amber flickered beneath it. Bramble rose. The timberleaf bridge snapped as all 6 creatures fled into his moss. He moved toward the boundary. Arin did not stop him. The corrupted rootball lowered its hooked black tusks. It did not charge. A cracked stone hung from vines around its neck. With a violent shake, it tore the object free and pushed it across the ground. The stone stopped just outside the sanctuary. Its surface carried the crescent tree symbol. Beneath it was the carving of a flowering grove connected to a water channel. Bramble released a low call. The corrupted creature answered. For one moment, its eyes turned completely amber. Then a black root moved beneath its skin. The red light returned. The rootball turned and ran into the forest before the corruption could force it to attack. The sanctuary record examined the stone. External waterway marker detected. Origin. Bloomback Grove. Connection. Ancient Channel 4. Distance. Unknown. Status. Corrupted. Flow direction, toward the sanctuary network. Warning. Pressure is building behind the sealed 4th gate. Far beneath the garden, stone groaned. The newly restored water trembled in its trench. Bramble stared toward the forest where his herd had disappeared. The sanctuary had taught one garden how to drink. Now the dying grove beyond its boundary was sending water toward them. Chapter 10, The 4th Gate. The garden water began flowing backwards before sunrise. Arin woke to the sound of stones clicking together. Not loudly. One quiet tap after another, traveling through the cottage floor. Mira raised her head from the moonrust grass. Her turquoise eyes opened fully before Arin had managed to sit up. Outside, Bramble released a deep warning grunt. Arin reached for his walking branch. His right ankle had improved enough that he could cross the room without dragging it, but putting his full weight upon the joint still caused a sharp ache. The wound across his back had closed beneath the cloth wrapping, and his bruised shoulder could finally move above chest height. None of that meant he was ready to run. The garden did not wait for him. By the time Arin reached the doorway, the silver-blue water inside the irrigation trench had stopped moving around the suncoil plants. It trembled. Then it reversed. Clean water withdrew from the farthest row and flowed toward the buried garden feeder channel. Mira ran ahead, limping only slightly now. Bramble stood over the clay opening with his 6 legs spread protectively around the crops. Flowers across his mossy back had closed, and his warm golden eyes remained fixed upon the retreating water. The ancient Channel 4 marker lay near the southern boundary. Dark soil clung to its broken crescent shape. 4 shallow silver notches marked one edge, while black stains covered the carved doorway and root symbol at its center. Amber light pulsed beneath those stains. Once. The garden trench answered. Darkness appeared beneath the reversed water. Close Channel 3, Arin said. Mira looked at him. I know it is already restricted. The dark line moved closer to the living filter. We need to close it completely before the contamination reaches the garden. Bramble shoved his flat stone snout beneath the buried clay cover. The stone lifted. Arin inserted the walking branch and helped lever it aside. Mira disappeared toward the hidden cottage hatch. Arin followed as quickly as his ankle permitted. Bramble remained above. He was too broad to enter the underground chamber, but his root horns pressed against the soil surrounding the channel. Through them, he could feel every change beneath the garden. The chamber below the cottage had changed since Channel 3 was restored. Silver blue water moved through 3 of the 7 stone paths. The western root channel fed the basin. The emergency channel rose toward the moonkeeper's well. The garden channel passed beneath the open flower gate. The remaining 4 gates were sealed. The 4th one was shaking. Mud fell from the carving above it. Unlike the flower symbol above Channel 3, this gate bore the image of several rounded creatures standing beneath flowering trees. Bloomback rootballs. The stone wheel at the center of the chamber turned half a step. Stopped. Then struck its frame. The clicking sound traveled through the floor. Mira placed one paw against Channel 3. Rain scents entered the flowing water. Arin felt the pressure immediately. Something was forcing contaminated water through Channel 4. The sealed gate was holding it back. But the pressure had become strong enough to pull water from the connected channels. The sanctuary record appeared. Ancient waterway network. Restored channels, 3 of 7. Channel 4. External origin, Bloomback Grove gate status, sealed internal corruption, severe pressure, rising rapidly flow direction toward sanctuary network. Current effect. Clean water drawn from garden feeder channel Moonkeeper's well production reduced contamination approaching connected mechanisms. Warning. Opening channel 4 may flood sanctuary soil with corrupted water. Keeping channel 4 fully sealed may damage the ancient network. Estimated time before structural failure. 3 hours. Arin studied the trembling gate. So we cannot open it, and we cannot leave it closed. Mira's tail lashed. Yes, I also dislike that answer. The lever controlling channel 3 stood beside the central basin. Arin pulled it downward until the garden gate closed. The clean flow stopped. Above them, Bramble grunted. The crops had been cut off from water again. It is temporary, Arin called. A heavy foot struck the soil overhead. I know the plants still need water. Another strike. And I know you consider temporary problems unacceptable. The earth became quiet. Mira looked at Arin. He heard the part where I said the problem was temporary. Her expression suggested that Bramble had heard whichever part he preferred. The channel 4 marker did not fit into any opening in the underground chamber. Arin tested it against the gate, the control wheel and the stone basin. Nothing responded. It may not be a key. Mira sniffed the marker. Its black stains reacted to the clean water in the basin, releasing a thin line of grey vapor. Bramble lowered his stone snout through the hatch. When he saw the object, grief moved through beast empathy. The marker had once rested beside the water path entering Bloomback Grove. Every mature member of the herd knew its shape. During floods, one root boar carried the marker downstream to warn the connected shelters. It did not open a gate. It showed where excess water was supposed to escape. This is a flood marker. Bramble gave a low confirmation. Arin turned the stone over. A shallow groove crossed its underside. It formed a curved path leading away from the 4 silver notches. The groove ended beside a small carved flower. A relief channel. The grove is not deliberately sending contamination toward us. The dark water struck the sealed gate again. It is overflowing. Black root corruption had blocked or reversed the natural exits around Bloomback Grove. Channel 4 was now the only remaining path. And it led directly toward the sanctuary. Mira touched the marker with one paw. Rain scents followed the old carving. A faint direction entered the bond. South. Not beneath the cottage. Beneath the sanctuary boundary. There should be another mechanism outside this room. They found the buried spillway stone just inside the southern wildflowers. It lay beneath the same patch of ground the temporary shelter threshold had reinforced during the corrupted herd's attack. Arin, Mira and Bramble had crossed the location many times without seeing it. The divine rain had washed away enough soil to reveal the corner of a silver crescent. Bramble cleared the earth with careful pushes of his snout. A long stone basin emerged. It began inside the sanctuary, passed beneath the wildflower boundary and extended several meters into corrupted forest soil. 7 narrow grooves ran along its surface. 3 were clean. The 4th was black. The remaining grooves were dry. A circular hollow at the sanctuary end matched the underside of the marker. Arin placed the broken crescent stone inside it. Silver light traveled through the first 3 notches. The 4th notch flickered amber. The long basin shook. Ancient overflow facility detected. Moonkeeper's Mercy spillway. Purpose. Redirect dangerous water pressure away from inhabited sanctuary channels. Design principle. Water may be refused entry without being trapped. Current status. Buried. External path, blocked natural filtration bed, destroyed boundary connection, dormant. Required restoration. Clear the inner basin, create a replacement filtration bed, open the external overflow path, protect purified territory from backwash. Arin read the design principle again. Water may be refused entry without being trapped. The well had been closed kindly. The sanctuary threshold refused hostile entry without attacking. Now the old water system followed the same rule. It did not simply seal danger behind a wall until the pressure destroyed everything. It gave that pressure somewhere safer to go. Bramble walked along the stone basin. He stopped where it crossed the wildflowers. The external section disappeared beneath a mass of black root vines. Removing them would require working beyond sanctuary protection. Arin looked toward the forest. No red eyes watched from the trees. That did not mean the herd was far away. We restore everything on this side first. Bramble began digging at the external blockage. Arin stepped in front of him. This side. Bramble's ears flattened. We have less than 3 hours. That is exactly why we cannot waste strength fighting the largest blockage first. The root boss struck one foot against the ground. You are still injured. Bramble stared at Arin's wrapped ankle. So am I. Mira sat between them. Her tail touched Bramble's front foot. Then it touched Arin's boot. Both injured. Both stubborn. Arin exhaled. We prepare the filter together. Then we decide how to clear the outside path. Bramble released a dissatisfied grunt. It was not agreement. But he followed Arin back toward the sanctuary side. The original filtration bed had once been filled with layers of silver gravel, living moss and woven root fiber. Almost nothing remained. They possessed smooth golden streamstones from the garden filter. Sealweb moss grew beside the cottage foundation. Bramble's damaged vine harness could provide more fiber. But the materials were limited. Using them here meant weakening the garden filter. Arin examined the two facilities. We cannot protect the spillway by destroying the irrigation system. Bramble moved toward the garden. He lowered his head beneath the existing living filter. No. Bramble continued lifting. I did not say we should take it apart. The rootbore pushed the entire filter bed from below. Its woven roots and moss rose in one connected section. Beneath it, new pale fibers had grown through the purified soil. The filter had begun reproducing its own structure. The sanctuary record identified the growth. Rootweb moth. Created through repeated contact between. Bloomback growth mana sealweb moss clean sanctuary water purified garden soil. Properties. Natural filtration soil reinforcement slow self-repair when kept damp. Current quantity. Small. Safe division. Up to 1/3 without damaging the garden feeder channel. Bramble looked at Arin. You knew it had grown. A proud grunt. You could have shown me before attempting to move the entire garden. Bramble turned away. Arin cut 1/3 of the moth with his stable knife. They transferred it to the Mercy spillway. Mira dampened the roots with a small sphere of gathered moisture. Arin spread golden streamstones beneath it, and Bramble pressed purified soil around the basin's edges. The timberleaf cluster arrived before anyone invited them. All 6 creatures climbed into the spillway and began eating pale grubs from the root fibers. Mira supervised from the rim. One timberleaf attempted to carry away a loose strand. Mira placed her paw upon it. The tiny creature tugged. Mira did not move. The other 5 gathered behind their companion. Arin watched the silent struggle. The fiber belongs in the filter. All 6 timberleaves turned their covered faces toward him. Mira released the strand. The creatures carried it away together. Arin looked at her. You surrendered. Mira cleaned one paw. Several minutes later, the timberleaf cluster returned with the stolen strand woven into a tight circular pad. They placed it over the deepest crack in the spillway. The sanctuary record glowed. Inner basin cleared, complete replacement filtration bed, complete backwash protection, partial external overflow path, blocked. Estimated time before channel 4 failure. 1 hour, 12 minutes. Arin looked toward the black root mass beyond the boundary. We are out of safer tasks. He tied the maintenance rope around his waist. The other end passed around the silver tree's lowest trunk. Mira stared at the knot. This is not like Derek's rope. The memory came without warning. A sword falling. Fibers snapping. The ravine opening beneath him. Arin tested the knot again. This one is anchored inside the sanctuary. Mira placed one paw over the rope. Warm reassurance passed through their bond. Bramble stood at the boundary. His broad body blocked the open path. You cannot come with me. A deep growl rolled through his chest. The corrupted herd is connected to your emotions. If they appear and you panic for them, the black root may use that. Bramble lowered his horns. I am not saying you are weak. Arin rested one hand upon the nearest root horn. I am saying that I need you here to control the soil if the spillway opens. Bramble's golden eyes remained fixed upon him. You brought the warning marker here. Let me help carry what it means. After a long moment, Bramble stepped aside. Arin crossed the wildflowers. The sanctuary warmth thinned. Mira remained inside, holding the rope beneath one paw. Arin approached the external spillway. Black vines covered its entire length. Corruption sense revealed that most of them did not belong to the ancient channel. They were parasitic roots wrapped around the stone path. He did not need to purify the forest. He only needed to create an opening. Arin cut the thinnest fibers with his stable knife. The larger roots reacted. Thorns unfolded along their surfaces. Pain entered Arin's back before they even struck. The corruption remembered where he had been injured. One tendril rose. Mira hissed. Mist crossed the boundary, concealing Arin's exact position. The tendril struck empty soil. Arin moved around it and separated another fiber. The black root searched his emotions. It found the countdown. The pressure beneath the cottage. The crops that would die if contaminated water entered the garden. Fear tightened inside his chest. The external blockage grew denser. Arin stopped cutting. The black root wanted him desperate. Desperation made every trapped path narrower. He opened his hand against the stone. We are not trying to destroy you. The corrupted fibers trembled. We are giving the water another path. Silver light moved faintly beneath his palm. The first black root loosened. Then the forest floor shook. The entire outer blockage pressed downward. Arin's hand became trapped between stone and black vine. Arin. Mira's fear entered the bond. The maintenance rope tightened. Bramble pulled from inside the sanctuary. Arin's body moved backward, but his hand remained pinned. A shadow emerged between the trees. The corrupted rootball leader. Red light burned behind its leaf-covered face. One hooked black tusk remained longer than the other, and dark fibers twisted across its bark-armored shoulders. It looked at Arin. Then at the trapped spillway. Bramble released a low call from inside the sanctuary. The leader answered. Amber appeared beneath the red glow. The black root tightened around its body. Its head turned toward Arin as if preparing to charge. Mira's mist thickened. Bramble struck both front feet against the ground. The earth beneath the leader rose slightly. Not attacking. Supporting. The corrupted rootball looked toward Bramble. A memory passed through beast empathy. Two young bloombacks digging beside each other. Sharing one water trench. Sleeping beneath the same flowering tree. The leader roared. Then it drove its remaining hooked tusk beneath the outer blockage. Black roots wrapped around its face. It pushed anyway. Bramble sent an earth pulse through the ancient basin. The stone lifted from beneath. Inside and outside. Two rootballs working upon the same channel again. The blockage cracked. Arin pulled his hand free. Now. Mira released the rope and struck the spillway marker with one glowing paw. Turquoise light crossed all four notches. Far beneath the cottage, the sealed fourth gate opened a fraction. Corrupted water roared through the ancient network. It did not enter the central basin. The restored marker redirected it south. The Mercy spillway awakened. A black surge burst from beneath the wildflowers. The rootwave mud caught the first wave. Golden stones rattled. Dark liquid climbed toward the garden. Bramble raised a curved wall of clean soil around the inner basin. The corrupted leader was struck by the outer flow and thrown sideways. Arin grabbed one of its root horns. Pain, rage and grief crashed through beast empathy. He could not cure the creature. Not here. Not with his remaining mana. But he could prevent the water from dragging it beneath the black root mass. Mira crossed the boundary using Cloud Step. She appeared upon Arin's shoulder and released mist around the leader's face. For one heartbeat, its red eyes dimmed. Arin opened his hand against the horn. You helped us. Amber returned. You can stop now. The leader's body trembled. Then it allowed Arin to guide it away from the flood path. The outer blockage collapsed. Corrupted water escaped through the newly opened channel and flowed away from the sanctuary into a low, empty hollow. It did not flood the garden. It did not enter the well. The sanctuary boundary curved around the Mercy spillway, forming a silver-white wall shaped like interwoven branches. Water passed through the open center. Black roots could not follow. Moonkeeper's Mercy spillway restored. Channel 4 pressure redirected. Fourth gate. Partially opened for emergency release only. Ancient channels fully restored. 3 of 7. Channel 4. Connected but not purified. New facility. Boundary spillway. New defensive foundation. Living verge dormant. Principle established. The sanctuary may refuse danger while preserving an open path for life, water and willing refuge. Boundary stability 64% 72%. Land purification 3.5% 3.9%. Arin fell to one knee. Mira remained upon his shoulder, trembling after Cloud's step. Bramble crossed to the edge of the wildflowers but did not leave the sanctuary. The corrupted leader stood outside. Black water flowed safely behind it. Its amber eyes remained visible for several breaths. Bramble called softly. The leader lowered its head. Then the corruption moved. Red light returned. The creature backed away before it could attack. Arin did not follow. "You are still in there," he whispered. The Rudbor leader disappeared into Whisperwood. The garden water resumed its proper direction by evening. The well produced only 2 bowls that day, but the crops remained safe. Bramble rested beside the Sencoil rose while Arin replaced the damp cloth over his puncture wounds. His corruption had not risen. The clean soil and controlled water had reduced it slightly. Bramble. Sanctuary status. Temporary guest. Corruption level 6% 5%. Trust level 12% 17%. Current intention. Recover. Protect the garden, wait for the herd. Sanctuary bond. Not established. You are allowed to stay while you wait. Bramble gave a quiet grunt. No work as required is payment. A louder grunt answered. I expected disagreement. Mira curled upon Bramble's mossy back. The Rudbor released an exhausted breath but did not move her. Arin sat beside them and roasted the last pale gold kernels inside a clay dish. He divided them into 3 portions. Bramble swallowed his entire share before Arin finished placing it on the grass. Mira reached toward Arin's dish. He moved it away. We have learned nothing. Warm amusement traveled through both bonds, one true bond and one growing trust that needed no magical seal. For a few minutes, the sanctuary felt like a home. Then the southern wildflowers bent. Arin stood. The corrupted herd leader had returned. It approached alone. Every step shook beneath the pressure of the black root inside its body. When it reached the boundary, it stopped. The creature lowered its head and drove its remaining hooked tusk against a stone. Once. Twice. On the third strike, the black tusk broke free. The leader pushed the corrupted weapon away. Then it knelt before the sanctuary threshold. The sanctuary record appeared. Temporary shelter request detected. Creature. Corrupted Bloomback Rudbor leader. Intent. Shelter present aggression, externally imposed resistance to corruption, critical entry risk, severe. Warning. The creature may lose control after crossing. Current sanctuary facilities are insufficient for safe isolation. Bramble rose so quickly that Mira rolled from his back into the grass. Behind the kneeling leader, 6 pairs of red eyes appeared between the trees. The rest of the corrupted herd stepped into the moonlight. One after another, they lowered their hooked tusks. 7 infected creatures waited outside the fragile boundary. Not charging. Not attacking. Asking to come home.